Hello and welcome to the Holy Rivals Show. I'm your host, Nathan Bomber Brown, and with me is my partner and co-host, the Wild Ute. How
What's
we
going
doing
on? How
today
you
on
doing,
this
Bum?
Saturday, Ute?
Hey, living the dream, man. Living the dream on this Saturday. How you
See,
doing?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, couldn't sleep last night, so been having some personal challenges today, but it's nothing big.
Real
Um,
life nightmares, huh?
what's that? Yeah,
Real
maybe.
life nightmares.
So before we get started, I want to thank everybody for being here this afternoon. I love to continue to build our brands, and this Holy Rivals show is just getting bigger and bigger, especially now that we have Utah and BYU in the same conference again. It's going to be awesome over the next year to build this thing up, so we get really back into that intense Holy War um, existence as it was. We've been out of it for 12 years. It'll be 13 years after this year, and that's a long time. So we appreciate everybody being here. We know that it's hard to get in and see these live shows, and we really appreciate that. And want to make sure that everybody knows that it's important to us. The other thing I want to make sure everybody knows of, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment or suggestion. We definitely read those. We've had several shows based on those comments, and we're really glad that you guys continue to participate in that way. And then if you really want your comment to be read, you can leave it. And if we have time and there's schedule available, we'll absolutely read those regular comments. But a little bit easier for us is if it's a super chat. You can just hit that button at the bottom there, do a super chat, and those we always read and they're always available. And then also we can do channel subscriptions. And I'm going to actually, I'll do that later in the show. So before we actually even dive in really quick, Ute, I'm really curious about this. What's going on with Cam Rising?
Oh
Is that
my
a
goodness.
rumor? Is that a real thing?
Oh gosh. So Cam Rising, Utah's starting quarterback stud, top 15 quarterback in my opinion in the nation. He tore his ACL in the Rose Bowl, and he's been rehabbing it. It looked like it was trending positive. Whittingham said this week that he's 50-50. That's just a fact. Kyle Whittingham said
Wow.
he's 50-50 for the game. There were interviews with Cam Rising this week, and it just seemed like, I don't know, just based on my take, that there wasn't a lot of confidence. He said that he was going to play, but I mean, what do you expect him to say? He's going to say that anyway.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it
that's
seemed a
awful
little iffy,
scary. I
right?
mean, you guys have a loaded team this year. We've spoken about it several times. I mean, if Utah's ever going to challenge for not just the Pac-12, I think we take that for granted at this point, but the wider college football playoff, really, this is a team to do that. And so, I mean, I'm not cheering against Cam. I really respect him. I think he's a good player, but I being in your shoes, I just feel bad for you.
Dude, you have no idea what happened yesterday, Bomber. If you felt bad for me about the Cam injury, you're going to really feel bad about this. Okay, check this.
What? Tell me.
All right, so Cam against 50-50. That's just, we'll see if he plays. It's massive
Okay.
or
Okay.
not. The backup quarterback that was going to start if Rising didn't go was a kid named
Okay.
Brandon Rose. He was a redshirt freshman. He won that second string battle yesterday in scrimmage. He had a massive injury. He was hospitalized last night, and
Oh
it's
my gosh.
that he's going to be out for at least 2 months. So he's out for the season.
Oh my gosh.
Utah, I think an edge rusher came in, hit him hard in a scrimmage.
At practice?
The smoke around it, and in a
That is
scrimmage, in
crazy.
a scrimmage. And apparently, yeah, he's out for the season. The smoke is some type of spleen rib injury, but
Oh, so it's internal.
it's
Oh my
internal. So
gosh.
the second stringer is no longer a go for the season. So if Rising doesn't go, we're looking at third stringer now. So
What's going on with Nate? It's Nate Johnson, right?
yeah, so Nate Johnson's going to be battling for that backup spot with
Okay.
Bryson Barnes, who's played a lot over the years. He's been in the program forever. Nate Johnson's a stud, four-star kid out of California.
He's been around a long time.
Yeah, these guys have both been in the program for a long time, but they just Nate Johnson hasn't played a lot. And
Right. Okay.
Bryson Barnes, like, he has played a lot. He knows the playbook, but he just lacks top end talent. Really, that's the problem. And like, can he beat a
Jeez.
Florida? Can he beat these higher end teams? That's a question mark. So the Utes are stacked this year. Whittingham has said this is the best talent he's ever had, ever.
Yeah, I saw that quote
Yeah.
yesterday.
So I mean, really, it's just quarterback. How good are they going to be? It really is Rising ready to go? If he is, it's going to be a special season. If he's not, it could be tough.
That is really sad news. Well, hopefully, I mean, you can cheer against rivals, you can, but you don't generally cheer against an athlete, and you especially don't cheer for something like an injury. So I feel bad for all of you, really. I mean, you guys had everything else in line. You have a kicker. Special teams is awesome. You got a great defense, obviously. You got tight ends that are, like uh, any kind of bird of prey will hunt you down in speed. So I'm just surprised that we made it here. So
Yeah, and thank you guys for the sympathy here. So it looks like in the chat and everything, we're getting some sorries out there.
right, right.
But seriously,
Eh,
guys, how stupid is that to let your second string possible starter for the opening week get hit?
yeah,
How do
you
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 do that
got
in
that kid's
college,
got to get
guys?
sat down or
I
something.
cannot believe
That's
that.
just
Like
really
it's
bad.
ticked off. And
Uh,
everyone's gonna notice this too, Bomber, before we move on.
sure,
So
yeah,
check
go
it out.
ahead.
So right here, so we have got some new logos for the Holy Rival Show, and these are QR codes for the Coup Connect and the Crimson Collective. These are the collectives for both of the programs.
The NIL collectives. Yep.
NIL collectives, and what's going to win football games in the Big 12 is NIL funds, guys. And so we're
Yes.
going to support NIL collectives. These are QR codes. If you take a picture of those, it'll take you right to their site so you can learn more about them. But really, we're going to be touting that because we want to win football games down the line. It's important to really support the NIL collectives. So that's what those kind of things are at the top left and
And
right.
on Monday, we're doing a collective show.
Yep.
We're going to have both collectives will be on the show. Jake and Kyle from the
Mhm.
different collectives will be with us, and we're gonna basically spend as much of the show as they want to give us talking about what these NIL collectives work for them, why it helps the players so much, and I just, in my opinion, that's the way you get sort of the extra bonus on your team, right? People are motivated. Obviously, money, everybody needs it, and these kids are playing hard, and that they'll leave if a conference or a school does not support a lot of NIL. BYU and Utah will both struggle. So yeah, definitely. We have had Coup Connect around for a while on Big 12 Mafia, but now that we've got one for also Utah, please participate. Click on that. I'm not. What's the minimum for Crimson Collective? Do you know?
It's like $5, $10 donation.
Okay, yeah, and Coup
Pretty
Connect
low.
is $10. So if you're a BYU or Utah fan and you're not going to these collectives and signing up even for the bare minimum, I would sort of have to call you out and say I don't think you're doing everything. $10 almost. I mean, I don't know anybody myself, including my kids, that couldn't afford a $10 a month donation,
And
and
how
it
much do you
helps the
care about
school.
winning? Let's be honest about that. How much do you care about winning? If you care about if you support your football program
Right.
and you want to win games, then you better you better donate to the collective because that's really what is going to be paying these kids. I mean, it's fair compensation for
Absolutely.
these kids. Just like you or I or anybody out there in the chat, like we can leave jobs at any time and go somewhere else for more money. It's just the same thing with these college athletes now. That's how the game's changed. It's
Right.
completely okay, fair. But just know that. I mean, if you want to win in the future, if you want to recruit high end talent, you better have a lot of war chest funds in your NIL collective. So it's big,
Yeah,
guys.
there's no doubt about that. And if you have questions, put those questions in the comments, and we'll answer those too. But I would really encourage everybody being here on Monday, and we're going to go through it top to bottom. And I think that's really, really important. I want to call out Summit Hawk is the first subscriber of our shows that has actually sent me a piece of equipment for their school,
Nice.
and it's right back here. In fact, I'm going to grab it. It's this Kansas Jayhawk helmet, which is really kick ass, actually. There you
Nice.
go. Look at that. It's got the logo on it and everything. So I really appreciate that, Summit. Man, you're a stud to get this over to me when you did. And it'll have prominence right behind me here. And then eventually what I'm going to have is I'm going to get a stand that is just for the recent donations. And I'm going to put it up. I'll probably put it in this corner. I haven't decided. But if you want to send equipment to either Ute or I, what you can do is you can send us a DM, and we'll give you our addresses, and we'd love to start putting that stuff up behind us. I know we've got some Oklahoma State stuff coming, and I think a piece of TCU equipment. So as far as Utah goes, Big 12 now, start donating. You can send it to both of us, and we'll have that gear up, and everybody will see it. Again, this is a tip of the hat to Blue and Gold Dude, and we really, really appreciate it.
Hey, so G. Bruce says that's some bad mojo. You know
What's
what?
that?
Hey, we're giving some good mojo out here. This is Golden Blue Dude style, guys. So we're repping
Absolutely.
him.
Tip
So
of
that's
the
good
cap.
mojo.
So we do have our contributors that are going to be with us today. We have Moen and Immaculate, and they're going to be on the show in just a minute after we go through some stuff here at the beginning. And again, I really appreciate everybody being here. 38 on a Saturday afternoon is a fantastic number, and we really, really are grateful for you guys being here and sharing some of your time with us. Anyway, Ute, I'm going to let you sort of go what this show is going to be about. And I'm just going to sit back and I'll put the displays up for you. You just get to go, and I'm following you.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people in the chat that's actually asking about the injury updates. Really, so I want to talk a little bit more about this
Please
quarterback
do.
situation at Utah.
Do you want to call out some of these first people if you want?
Absolutely. You know what? Let's call it out. So we've got Jeff Fuller in the house. We've got John Coy, Lonnie in the house. We've got Mackula's going to be coming in with Moan Sports. Moan
That's
Vision.
right. Moan Sports. We're going to have to talk about that.
Vision, Moan Sports. We'll let him talk about that. So we
Jeremy Callahan was the first one in today.
We got Tony. Tony's asking about Utah and BYU men's basketball. So, I mean, that's just a little hint there. They're going to struggle.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Lonnie Johnson, David Hackett, one of our first subscribers. Really appreciate you being here, David. Let's see. Earl Carr, Blake, they're both subscribers, and really appreciate their loyalty to the show. You guys are awesome. And Craig Kirsch, G. Brew, D. Sue, and Mr. Monkey says, welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here.
So Monavision's laying it out right here. So, yeah, it looks like I think that he's speaking of this Brandon Rose injury.
Okay.
Here. And Brandon Rose is the backup quarterback for the Utes. He was going to be the starter in the Florida game coming up in a few weeks if Rising couldn't go. He took a hit yesterday in a scrimmage. Defensive end, I believe, came and rushed in, hit him, and he went to the hospital immediately. He'll be out for the season likely here. But it's really shaken up the quarterback situation for the University of Utah. If Rising doesn't go, we're looking at the third or fourth stringer. Both the guys have their own levels of talent. The third stringers played a lot of football at Utah, Bryson Barnes, but he lacks top-end talent to make the big throws, and he's just not a major playmaker. He's more just like a game manager. Nate Johnson's a redshirt freshman, four-star kid, lightning fast, like 4.3 kid. And if he plays limited reps, if he plays, he's going to be explosive. But I don't know about the turnover situation. I'm a little concerned about that. So the quarterback situation is a lot more murky today than it was yesterday. And if Bryson Barnes starts versus Florida, guys, it's probably going to be a little tighter than you'd think. And
now all of a sudden you're looking. You guys have a very difficult schedule. One of the hardest I think you've had in recent memory. You lead off with Florida. You're back and traveling down to Waco in the middle of September. That will be extremely warm. Then you come back and you dive right into a tough Pac-12 schedule, which is insane. You got some real your first 4 games in the Pac-12 are extremely difficult. So I think on my record, I think I had them going 8-4, 7-5. If you don't have a starting quarterback, might be real.
You know what? I have kind of reconsidered my projections. I was 10-2. I'm going now at 9-3 for the Utes. 9-3 is not going to get it done as far as the Pac-12 championship goes. Yes, if Rising plays, though, that might lift to 10-2, but it's looking more like a 9-3.
Yikes!
Maybe even an 8-4 season. Guys, the Utes roster stack, the best they've ever fielded. Whittingham just said that this week. It's loaded. So if Rising goes, it's going to be a special season, possibly a Pac-12 three-peat season. But if he doesn't go, it's going to be a slog. It really is. Unless Nate Johnson becomes a player that we're just not really anticipating now. I mean, he's kind of like a poor man's Lamar Jackson. That's kind of the
yeah. Well, he's been around for a long time, so.
Is he Lamar Jackson or something else? We'll find out if he plays, but that's the update on the Utes.
Brian Johnson is a good comparison.
Yeah, Brian Johnson, he was a game.
Yeah, he was a winner. Brian Johnson was a winner.
So this is what we have on the docket, though, for today. So we gave a little update on the Ute situation. So we have our Holy Rivals power rankings. So based on the preseason poll, what we did is Nate, myself, Immaculate, and Moan Sports put together our top 25 lists that we're going to share with you. And then we've got a blended average of our lists to have our own power rankings on how we see the season shaping out. Who should be top 25 going into the season. We haven't made any adjustments based on this Utah news. Maybe we can make that on the fly.
Right.
This is really, real recent stuff. But yeah, we'll talk about really who we anticipate having good seasons and bad, possibly bad seasons, who's overrated, underrated. So that's what's going to be on the docket for today. We want you guys to call in and opine too. So yeah, Nate, if we can send out the link to folks and stuff to call in just to talk about who they think.
Did you want to bring Moen and
we'll bring those guys
in first?
Yeah, let's do that.
And then we can open it up for calls. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
All right. Well, let's bring our two key contributors in the show. Hey, guys. Thanks for being here.
Good afternoon. Thanks for letting me out of the cage.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'm liking this put back and forth into the green room. I like this stuff.
The wolf's in the cage.
I like that. That's
I'll crack my jokes back there. It's okay.
It's all right. So before we get into the top 25, which we all do, and I think your idea was on Holy Rivals we would do these weekly, right?
We can do those weekly.
Yeah, okay. And we'll adjust our rankings weekly based on wins and losses. Okay. Yeah. All right. Do you guys want to say anything before we get started on the power rankings?
I'm just going to say that I'm not changing my Iowa pick just yet, even though Cade went down today. So it's a bad day for Iowa.
Because of the betting scandal. Are you gonna
No, he went down with his knee.
No, I'm talking about, but the team is being hit right now with these players that are getting set out for gambling.
That's the thing about Iowa, though, that I will say works in our favor, is that we don't get any of these extreme athletes that come in that if they go down, you're just, what's our plan? I mean, it's a lot of plug and play. So I'm kind of hoping that actually helps us out this year with whoever we miss, there's someone else there to replace.
Okay. All right. Well, then let me bring up the list. I'm just saying hi to everybody that's come in here. We got Greg Swaim's in the house. Mm-hmm. We got Perfect Cracker is in. So we're just we're sort of having an all-star cast of people watching the show today. Okay. So I increased the size so we can't see it all at once unless you guys think that it's okay, but we can pick that once we bring it up. So let me share this with everybody. And I will take us off.
Nice. So perfect.
So I can make it smaller. I just don't know how much of the screen you want to see.
I think that's okay.
Can you guys see that? Can you see that, Immaculate? Okay.
Yeah, I can see it fine. I didn't know if you. I kind of like when you were just doing the top 10.
Yeah, I can see it fine.
Do like in groups of 10 maybe or something.
I'll do whatever you guys want. I can make them bigger.
It's fine.
Go back to the previous version, Bomber. Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah, I like that.
All right,
too.
Very good. All right, so we definitely we're going to do calls and comments all about this, guys. So if you're just watching us right this second, just wait a little bit, and you're going to be able to put in your 2 cents. So go ahead, Ute.
Yeah, so here we go. So the number 1 team, obviously, is Georgia Bulldogs. You don't have Georgia number 1, there's something wrong with you. It's back-to-back champs. I think that was a no-brainer pick and stuff. But I'm looking here at the first couple selections, and you can see on the Wild U list here that I have Penn State at number 2, and that might be a major reach for a lot of teams. Maybe there's some recency bias with me because they pounded the crap out of the Utes in the Rose Bowl. They've got a lot of returning talent come on this team. We're breaking in a new blue-chip 5-star quarterback. It's said to be playing really good in camp. I just think Penn State's in for a big year and going into the playoffs this year. So I think Penn State's my number 2 team. And I'll let somebody else take it. How about Immaculate?
As far as on Penn State with your number 2 pick, as a Big Ten guy, I'll believe it when I see it. They always have the talent. They always have the capability of doing that, but something always happens to them at least a couple times a year that drops them down. I went with Michigan personally. It looks like the other guys did as well. Just they're right there with Georgia in terms of having so much coming back. I actually think Michigan looks better at the quarterback line, but Georgia's looking better at overall depth. So to me, Michigan was an actual easy pick for number 2. Well, you're not the only one that thinks this much on Penn State, though.
Yeah, what do you think, Ben?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't put Penn State that high, simply because they have James Franklin, and James Franklin will coach an incredible game, and then he will go out there and make one play call where you'll go, huh? And it'll cost Penn State the game. Inevitably. That has been Penn State's biggest flaw over the last 6 years. James Franklin making the wrong calls. So, yeah, they got a lot of talent. I see that, but I've got them all the way down at number 8.
Yeah.
I think they are overhyped.
Yeah. What do you think,
When was the
Bauman?
last time Penn State was number 1? Does anybody know?
Gosh.
Joe
Pa days?
Was
A
it
while
that long
ago.
ago?
I don't know if they've actually
was
ever been rated
early.
number 1 as Big Ten.
No, I think it was early Big Ten. I think they had like
Was it?
2 weeks where they were number 1.
Yeah, I thought at least a couple times they have, but regardless, the pedigree isn't there. Michigan was in the semifinal last year, so I think that's where that vote comes in. All right, how about number 3?
Yeah, so I've got LSU at number 3. LSU is returning a lot of talent. I think that LSU is always going to be a very talented team. They have a lot of experience. They've got good coaching, so I think that they're probably poised to make a playoff run. And really, the difference is edging out Bama, probably for that 2 spot in the SEC. That's kind of how I see it. They're not there with Georgia quite yet. But Jaden Daniels is a stud. I remember him at Arizona State. Utah tried to recruit him. He was a soft commit to Ute, then he flipped to ASU. So know a lot about the kid. I like him, and I like LSU's talent. And we'll see how it shakes out. But I think they're a worthy number 3.
Immaculate, go ahead. I think we know what Moen will say.
Yeah, I think Ohio State, LSU, you could have either one of them there. I think LSU definitely has the tip of the hat for the quarterback. Ohio State is just so loaded in every other way that I just gave them a little nudge on that. Plus, LSU going to have a little bit more of a challenging run through their schedule than Ohio State is. So that's why I put Ohio State above them, but really you could go either way with those two.
My Ohio State is a chalk pick, so I don't have any real emotion into it. Let's move on to 4. Here, let me sell USC. I can do that. I think this is going to be the year. I think this is going to be the year for USC. Their defense got some upgrades and some transfers. They've got a great recruiting class coming in, all kinds of talent. It's not about the offense with USC. It's about the defense. And I think this is the one year that they're going to put it together, and I think they're going to be in the top 4 the whole season.
Man, USC, it's hard for me to jump on the USC train because we just pound those guys all the time. So
I agree with Bomber. USC is so loaded at offense. It used to be who could keep up. You had to have USC stumble
right
in order to beat USC. I think with their defensive upgrades, those are no longer the case. I see USC winning the pack, and I see USC going undefeated into the college football playoff. The final season of the Pac-12, USC will be representing as a conference champion and in the college football playoff.
Yeah, I
think they're going undefeated? Undefeated?
I don't have them going undefeated. I actually have
I do.
Oregon State beating them.
Can we pull up their
as long
schedule?
As Caleb Williams, as long as Caleb Williams is healthy, I don't think anybody can stop him.
Let me look. Hang on.
Let's just pull up a schedule and just take a quick look. See, I know they've got Utah, Washington, Notre Dame, UCLA. But that's that an undefeated run would be remarkable because this Pac-12 is loaded this year. I wonder if they have Oregon State on their roster though.
So we got San Jose State, Nevada, Stanford, USC. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think that was.
Sorry, those are away games. I apologize. So San Jose State and Nevada are both at home. You got Stanford at home. 3 home games to start the season. That's nice.
Easy.
Then they traveled to Arizona State, so they're 4-0. They're 5-0 against Colorado. They're 6-0 against Arizona. see the rest of it. Where'd it go? Okay, so they're 6-0 against Arizona. Notre Dame, I always think is overrated, but you could argue that one maybe at home. Utah in the Coliseum for the last time. I think USC's got their ears pinned back on that. California is a win. Washington, you could say, is a toss-up maybe.
At the Coliseum, though, dang. Wow.
Yeah, Oregon's their one away game.
Oh, they're at Oregon. You're right.
They're at Oregon. I thought they played Oregon.
I think Oregon's overrated this year too. But that's just.
Well, I think the Pac-12 in general is overrated, but they're going to have some really good teams. Anyway,
Washington to me is the toughest game on there. That's the toughest game right there is Washington Huskies.
But
and they get them at
it's
home.
in LA, though.
So, yeah, they get them at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, right off of Cal. So
11-1, 12-0, I could see.
11-1, I'm out 11-1 with USC. Definitely.
Okay, that's fair.
They're definitely the favorites coming out of their division. I have them down to 7, but that's just because I think the Pac, you just never really know with them. It always seems they find a way to lose to each other, and they kind of grind away at each other. So, but they could easily jump up and get right up into the top this year. They're easily could be into the top 4.
Yeah.
So let's move to number 5 because I think this is shocking that you have Alabama. Every ranking for Alabama this year is below number 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just shocking. When was the last time that was the case in the preseason?
Kind of getting the feeling that Saban is starting to show a bit of his age, and with coaches that come in and out of there like a revolving door, it's going to be tough to maintain when you've got so many other programs that are now starting to come up and catch up.
Yeah, and adding Tommy Rees did that school no favors. You're never going to convince me that Tommy Rees is a top-level offensive coordinator.
Tyler Buckner, too, bringing him with Tommy Rees. Yeah, it just doesn't seem like it's going to turn out very well.
So I got another thing about Alabama. Since Sarkisian left, they haven't won a championship.
Wow.
Yep. I mean, I might have him overplayed on that. No. I mean, he's known as an offensive mind. I just don't think he's much of a head coach.
Yeah, I think he's the best coordinator in the country. Yeah. All I'm saying is I don't think that's an accident. Tommy Rees is not going to replace Steve Sarkisian. Anyway.
Yeah. And the West is such a tough division for the SEC. You got LSU, you've got Ole Miss. I mean, there's some real tough games in there. I just don't think Alabama, it's not their year.
If Texas A&M gets their stuff together, they might pull off another upset over Alabama like they have before.
Mm-hmm.
To talk about an underachieving team. Just off topic, I want to get a couple comments in here, Yude, if that's okay.
Bring them in. Yeah.
So Gary Chadwick. I forgot. I have to find it this way. I apologize. We're doing this dual screen thing now, and I was doing it on the other comment. I apologize. Let me see if I can get to it. Dumb. Let's see here. Where is it at?
I see a Gary comment.
This one.
Yeah.
This one right here. So Disu, he's responding to him. He says, all the Utah fans I have talked to are extremely excited for the Big 12. Is so passionate. You don't have to get this in the pack. You don't get this in the pack. It's going to be awesome being part of the Big 12.
Man, I'll tell you what, the Utes in the Big 12 kind of fit like a glove. It was always going to be an easy transition. It just seems like simple integration. We're not going to cause you any problems. And yeah, I think the Utes are going to be a good Big 12 member. I think they're going to be extremely competitive in that recruiting pipeline in Texas. Look out for it.
So this is the reply from Disu. He says, that's awesome. Thanks for giving me an update. I live in New Jersey, but I'm from Utah, and I'm super excited that Utah and BYU are in the same conference. They add so much to college football. These two comments are the heart and soul of what we want to be at the Holy Rivals, and we're building that brand up. And so those comments are really important to us. Keep them coming. If you want your comment to be sure to be read, you can make it a super chat, or if you're one of the subscribers, those all show up to us as a different color, and we always make sure that those are broadcast. Before we go, Immaculate or Moen, do you have any comments or any responses to those two comments?
Personally, I think the Big 12 is is going to be that kind of an excitement conference. In fact, I find it hard to even place their teams just because you don't know. I mean,
Right.
I know a lot of people, some of you guys have Texas up there. You can see Texas isn't even in my top 12.
Yeah.
I don't have any faith. I have less faith in Texas than I do Penn State.
Very fair.
So I have a hard time placing schools, and it is not a thing of disrespect. It's actually respect, because I just don't know. It could be anyone. Like last year was TCU. So I'm
Right.
definitely going to be looking forward to watching some Big 12 action.
Moen, any comment?
Well, yeah, they're happy. Big 12's happy Utah's in there now, but once Utah starts winning some conference championships, I don't know how happy you're going to be, because I think next year, I think Kyle Whittingham's the best coach in the Big 12 next year. I don't think that can be really argued.
They graduate and they're going to lose a bunch of people this season, though.
They might, but him being the coach there, I think if he keeps coaching there, I don't think there's a better coach in the Big 12.
I think so too. I think Moen's right about that. You guys, like this. I got Bombers just rolling his eyes over there.
No, I didn't say he wasn't. I'm not disagreeing. I'm guffawing at the idea that they fall out of bed because they've just beaten up on the Pac-12. That means that they're just going to walk into the Big 12. I think that's a ridiculous assumption. Utah's an 8-4, 7-5 team next year. They're not going to be in the top 5 in the Big 12 next year.
What?
Yep, they're not going to be.
We'll
do a side bet, you and I. I promise you they won't be in the top 5 next year.
Okay, we got a side bet going on. Be
Okay.
prepared to wear a Utah jersey for a couple seconds.
Yeah, hey, I got a nice blue one you can wear.
Let's move on here on the power rankings.
Yep. We're at Penn State, 6, Washington, Alabama, Ohio State. It's cool that we all have different teams.
Yeah, and like our smooth power rankings, we got USC at number 6 when you smooth that all out, and Alabama at number 7. But the team that we kind of talked about Bama a little bit. Let's talk about Florida State. Florida State is kind of a hot team right now.
Are we skipping 7, which is number 6? Are we skipping that?
Yeah, I'm actually just looking at the power ranking column, kind of our combined choices here. So the column N. You see that?
I do see it. I'm just wondering what are our picks? How do they relate to USC?
So we've discussed UFC, we've discussed Penn State, we've discussed LSU, we've discussed Ohio State, we've discussed Michigan. So we've discussed Bama. It's time to discuss Florida State.
Okay, you're organizing it different than I am in my head. I'm going line to line. So go ahead.
Yeah, so that's the thoughts on Florida State. A lot of returning talent. A lot of high-profile recruits in there. There's a lot of momentum and a lot of excitement. A lot of people think FSU is going to make the playoffs this year. So we've got them at 8 in the ultimate power rankings. What do you guys think about them?
I have FSU plays at Clemson, so I have them behind Clemson.
Yeah,
that's it. And they play at LSU in the first week of the season, so I think that they got the tougher schedule. They play at Clemson, so I got Clemson higher than FSU. That's it.
I have them at 9 and 3, so. That's why I've got them at 10th.
I have them at 7, and I think that's a fair ranking. I think they win the ACC this year. They probably do drop that game to LSU, but I have LSU as my ultimate SEC champion this year.
Yep.
So I think that even a one-loss Florida State gives them the edge to make it into the playoffs for the ACC representative this year.
Okay.
It's all going to come down to that Clemson game because the ACC is not very deep. So that Clemson game between Florida State and Clemson is probably going to decide who the ACC champion is.
It has recently, hasn't it? Okay. Next one you want to do, you?
Yeah, so Washington Huskies here. Washington's all over the board, in our picks, but they fall at the number 9 spot. Even with Clemson. So those are both the same amount of weight that we gave to both of those based on our picks. But really, so we can talk about Washington and Clemson side by side. Washington returning a lot of talent. Penix, you've got stacked wide receivers. They're going to make a run this year for sure. I feel they're a little overrated. this year. I think that DeBoer is a good coach, but he's going to come back down to earth, and so will Washington. I think Penix had an amazing year last year, going to come back down to earth a little bit. So that's my view of them. I'm not nearly as concerned to play Washington as I am USC. So that's kind of why, in my rankings, I knocked them down to that 12 spot, actually. So that's my thoughts.
You guys have any?
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
That's. I think Washington's a little bit overrated. I think Michael Penix did fantastic last year coming in from Indiana, but I don't think that he's going to hit the level of play that he did last year. I think he's going to have to take a step back. And for that reason, I think Washington is probably a little overrated.
I have Washington rated based upon talent and based upon the team, but at the same time, I'm looking at that Oregon State game with them, and I'm thinking they could lose that one, and they definitely could lose the USC game. So I could see them not finishing where I have them starting out in the rank very easily. I actually think Oregon State will win that game in the end, just because of everything leading up to this season with the Pac conference and whatnot. But just looking at it talent-wise, they're pretty stacked. I do like the quarterback. I like the receivers. So we'll see how they do.
I think Washington and Clemson are both the second best teams in their conferences. They're both going to make the championship game of their conferences, and probably lose. Florida State will beat Clemson, and I think Washington loses to USC. So I think the spot that we have them in is ideal. I would be shocked if they don't end up there somewhere.
Yeah, it seems kind of right on, doesn't it? For
I think
all
so.
the talk and everything. So yeah, we can move over down to Texas.
Texas, okay.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'm buying the hype here. I know that everyone else wants to slow on Texas.
Oh boy,
I think that Texas absolutely is a monster year.
Texas
I really
hype.
I really do. I feel I'm really high on Texas. Everybody else is really low on Texas based on history. Totally understand that. Would knock you for that take.
Right.
They have so much blue chip talent. Sark's there. They have Ewers back. They've got Manning, right? Like the backup row. They're loaded with talent. And if they can put it together this last year, they're going to rip a lot of wins off. So I'm pretty high on them.
Same. I've got Texas that high simply based on talent. They've got too much talent. That's it. Yeah.
I have them exactly where they're going to end up, which is 11. It's the exact same score. Yeah. That's, I think, exactly where – I don't think they're the best team in the Big 12.
Who's the best team in the Big 12? One sec. Sorry.
Kansas State is going to be really, really good. And it's kind of hard to overlook them. I also think that you're looking at Oklahoma that's got revenge on their head. So I think Texas loses 3 games this year.
Yeah.
Every Hateful Eight team that goes against Texas and Oklahoma is going to play in that game with everything they got.
Right.
Will Texas and Oklahoma be doing the same? No. And so I think that they're going to lose some of those games. I'm not trying to predict which ones, but they're going to lose some that they're not supposed to. So that's why I have Kansas State so high. And I think TCU, it's hard to tell, but I have them pretty high too. I think those are the two that could overturn Texas and Oklahoma.
Here's a comment from Jeremy Callahan. He says, the Big 12 still gets the short end of the stick from brand bias. How do TCU and Kansas State not crap the top 10s? If Washington and Penn State are better than K-State, I'll eat my purple Power Cat hat.
Nice
I love it.
All right, fair.
Yeah, see, that's why the Big 12 is awesome, is people are passionate, right? I love that.
The thing about Kansas State is they always play above their belt. They always play better than they're supposed to be. They play better than the talent looks at the beginning of the season. So, I have them at 15. They're not that far out of there, and I definitely think that they'd rise. Just on talent alone, looking at it at this point in the season, this is where I put them. But it's not meant as an insult.
Oh no, I don't think. Yeah, nobody's thinking that. No. Again, if you're just new to the channel or getting here this afternoon, first, we appreciate you being here on a late Saturday afternoon. It's a great time to have a show like this. Really laid back. We're just talking about different things. These power rankings is what we're focusing on right now. If you want your comment or suggestion to be read on the show, go ahead and put it in there. If you want to make sure we read it, make it a power make it a super chat, and we read all those. So that way we don't miss your really awesome comment because it just flew by us. And then the other thing is you can become a subscriber. Or what did we decide, Moen? What's the term? A joiner? A member?
Members.
So
A member.
members, the verbiage on the YouTube page sucks. So I always slip back and forth between subscribers and members. But if you hit the join button on the main Big 12 Mafia page, it takes you to a member subscription section, and you can pick one of those. They're really inexpensive. They last a month, and they just make it so all of your comments are highlighted to us. I just want to make sure everybody knows about those things. All right, so let's move to what? Utah then.
Yeah, Utah's gotten lift from Wild Utes rankings over here.
Yeah, overrated.
So really, Utah would be a natural probably 14 spot if I didn't put them at number 10. But I do think this Utes team's loaded. Best talent
Without Cam Rising?
If Rising plays, this is going to manifest itself. I think they're a top 10 team. If he doesn't play, then others are right. It could be anywhere from 14 to 22. But I think that, Rising, we'll see how it shakes out. They really are a top 10 team if he plays, and I think that's going to show out this season.
You guys?
Yeah, I can't add anything more than that. It's up to Cam Rising. If Cam Rising doesn't play, I don't think they have a chance of being 500 this year. Yeah. I think he's that important to their offense. Everything is developed around Cam Rising. So if he's there, he's top 10. It's a top 10 Utah team, and they're going to compete in the pack. If he's not, oh boy, it's going to be a tough year for Ute fans because they got a lot of talent that came back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, I had Utah at 15. I think that's a more reasonable pick. But anyway, so we averaged at 12.
Okay. It all comes down to Cam, though, like you're saying. If he's there, I think that they could rise. If he's not, I think they fall.
Okay.
That's fair.
Next one is Tennessee.
You guys, I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about this new Tennessee roster, but I do know they lost so much talent, and Hendon Hooker was such a good player. I think this team falls hard. This is my one team I'm thinking in the top 25 I think is going to really, really fall in tougher times this season. Probably better in the future. I know they got a stud quarterback coming in, but really with Hendon Hooker, with Jalen Hyatt, and some other guys at receiver, they're losing some star players. And you can't replicate that. I mean, Tennessee was bad for a long time. They had a good season last year because of Hooker. But, guys, I think they fall off hard this year.
For me, it looks like I'd have the second highest one on them. It's all about Milton. This is a bit of a risk pick for me. Like if I was betting, it's just his talent level, his potential is so high, yet he's always made mistakes in the past. I'm just kind of counting on by this time in his college career that he will have worked some of that out. I do think that their coaching there is very good for this. So I'm kind of counting on him with that pick to really come together. And if he does, I think Tennessee is going to surprise some folks because he's potentially that good.
Moen?
Yeah, I agree. No, I think Josh Heupel, what he's done there at Tennessee has been incredible. And he's been a great reclaimer of taking these quarterbacks with really high talent levels that maybe haven't performed up to that level in the past and has really motivated them, just like he did with Hooker last year. So I think you're probably going to – they play in a very tough – they got to play against Georgia. I think it's at Georgia this year.
Oh,
so – yeah, they've got a tough road of it, but I do think that they're going to be one of the better teams in the SEC East for what that counts. But
I think that's okay.
Yeah.
I think they're rated right where they're going to end up. That's my guess.
Yeah,
fourth or fifth in the SEC, so top 15. But just wanted to call out Glenn Lumen. He's one of our members. His comment is, "Good morning from the Philippines. Good to see you. Thanks for the great show. It would be good someday to review the preseason poll to the final poll from year to year." We're going to do that, Glenn. We're going to definitely take what we start now. We'll track it and where we end up in the end of the season and see who's right. I think that'll be fun.
Bomber, know what we should do too? Like a couple months back, we had realignment predictions. We
Right.
threw that on a spreadsheet. I think that we were pretty accurate with those.
I think I was almost perfect.
Yeah, so I mean, we nailed that.
Yeah.
So that'd be a fun one to do with these rankings too.
All right, let's move to the next one. So Kansas State.
Hey, K-State's always going to bringing a lot of talent back. Lose Deuce Vaughn, but there's a lot of talent on the team. Kleiman, the coach, is great.
He's
the fan base
fantastic,
is
yeah.
great. So they're going to be here sitting around, anywhere from 12 to 18 all season. I think they're going to win a lot of games. They're going to be up there for the Big 12 and playing with Texas and Oklahoma for the championship.
Moen?
Yeah, I've got Kansas State winning the Big 12.
Yeah.
I think the world of Chris Kleiman, and I know Immaculate doesn't want to hear this, but I think at the end of the year, Iowa moves on from Kirk Ferentz and Chris Kleiman's the first one they call. He has done such an incredible job at Kansas State. Just the perfect epitome of doing more with less.
Yeah, the quarterback, Will Howard, Jeremy's called it out right there. He is a stud. Guy he's NFL. So,
well, I mean, just to say, everything you're saying about him, I mean, that is exactly what Iowa needs in a head coach. I have zero problem with Ferentz and what he's done, except for his son, unfortunately. So if he becomes a casualty of that, then that's how it is. And if that guy comes over from Kansas State, then that's a pretty good grab. I also think there's a couple other people on the list, but we'll see how that one fares.
Okay.
So we got a new nickname, Will Howitzer.
Hey, Will Gunn. Okay.
And every man a Wildcat. Heck
yeah. And I do have Kansas State right there near that too. I think that they are the team to be expected to, take out Texas and Oklahoma, but they're not sneaking up on Texas and Oklahoma. If there's anyone that Texas and Oklahoma is going to be ready for, it's going to be Kansas State, and it's going to be Texas or TCU. I think the one to really watch to upset those guys is Texas Tech. I'm definitely looking for Texas Tech to get some upsets on those two teams.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's 6 teams, maybe even 7 in the Big 12 that could win it this year. So we'll have to see how that goes. They're all very good teams. Let's move to the next one's Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think that
I'm trying to remember where I even put them. Oh, I had them at 14. So yeah, I was only 1 off the average.
Yeah, so I think that Sam Hardman, I've got Notre Dame a little higher this year because I think he's a stud. I think that he's actually going to lift the program a little bit this year. I like this Notre Dame team, but it's kind of middle of the pack in the rankings. I'm not sure they're going to compete for a championship, but with the quarterback improvement, I can see him be pretty good.
Yeah, pretty mediocre. I mean, I never really believe in them to do anything amazing. I don't think that their recruiting is anywhere as big as some people would say. They'll have some good wins, but they're going to have some upsetting losses at the same time. So we'll see. I have them at 17 myself.
Yeah, I think I've got them to 18. They're going to be mediocre. I know Sam Hartman's a great quarterback, but when you whiff on your OC because your school won't spend money on an offensive coordinator,
stupid. Yeah,
and you happen to find the perfect guy, third candidate in on your own team. I don't know. I need to see this offense where I think their defense will be good. But this offense, man, there's questions. So until those questions get answered, I've got them low. I don't see them probably looking 7-8 wins this year. I wouldn't put them more than 8 wins.
Let me ask you this, and this just came to me. Outside of the regular teams that always challenge for a championship, and let's just talk about from the premise of getting into the semifinal games. Are there any teams that are, let's say, 12 and down that you guys think for sure can challenge for those spots? Or is this a really top-heavy top 25? Because this seems like one of the most balanced top 25s I've seen in a long time.
Yes.
I think from 10 down, that 10 down, anybody could be in any position. 25 could end up at 10.
Yeah.
I think that's how balanced it is.
I'd point out my number 14,
Oregon State.
Oregon State. They that is a tough team. They do have a good quarterback. I think from reports coming out there, it's going really well with him.
With DJ Ukulele.
And they have all the drive in the world to go out there and just be mean as hell. And that is how they play.
Yeah.
I think that they are going to take everything personal all year long because for them, this is it, right? They don't even know what next year is. Like, this is play it like it's your last season because you don't really know what Oregon State's going to be next year. You don't know if you're going to be transferring out. This is like almost a last hurrah. I expect Oregon State to be tough this year.
Okay. Let's move to next is Oregon.
Overrated.
Yeah.
What position do you have them in the
overrated.
Pac-12?
Oh, and I've got them at 18. Well, where do I have them actually?
No, I'm talking about just where do they place in the Pac-12?
They're going to be behind USC, Washington, Utah, 4, maybe 5 behind Oregon State too. Bo Nix had a remarkable year last year. He's going to regress to the mean, yo. I don't have much faith in Oregon.
I don't think they're any worse than Utah is.
I got them below Oregon State, and as I'm looking through this, I'm starting to wonder myself, I might have overrated them. I might have Oregon actually a little too high. I think once you start to look through the schedule, I think Washington gets them. I think Oregon State gets them.
They play USC.
They play USC. That's 3.
Play Utah.
With Utah, I would have. I think I might have overrated them. I think that they're a good team. I don't mean to play it down. I just think that they have a tough schedule, a tough go this year. So I might have just went with the Oregon brand on that one a little too much.
That happens.
I just went with the talent. Oregon has bought a lot of talent.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, I mean, they bought talent in the transfer portal. They bought talent from recruits. They've spent millions. So they're getting a little boost from me just because they've been able to accumulate much talent from buying them.
It's interesting. I'm just noticing this on the power ranking. The average of the 4 of us, I've got Oregon. They're swapped. Oregon and Oregon State are swapped the exact same position. I think that's interesting because I think that's how close they each are. I think they're mirror images of each other.
I think Moen killed Oregon State in our power ranking.
I probably did. I think Oregon State. I know everybody has them as their Cinderella and their dark horse. Until DJ shows me something, I got to revert to what DJ showed me at Clemson.
That's fair.
Yeah, for me, it's what I saw from Oregon State last year, and then adding DJ on top of it.
Yeah, I mean they won some good games last year.
They were brutal last year.
I'll give my thoughts when we get to them.
Okay, let's go to Oklahoma then. What do you guys think about Oklahoma? My power ranking exactly the same thing. There's 5 of these that I've gotten exactly right. What does that say?
You're right on.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
They got talent. They're going to be offensive, but I think this is another one of these cases where how's their defense going to be? How are they going to do? They always seem to get offensive talent. They pull it out of Texas. They do great with that, and they just don't seem to be able to build defenses there. And so I don't see a whole lot of drive for them this year. I do think that they're all looking at their future in the SEC now with the Big 12. I don't think that they feel like they have any great thing to prove. So I don't see them doing a lot. I have them at 19.
Yeah, they've got a lot of talent, like you mentioned, immaculate. But they're kind of unpredictable, right? You can see them have a really good season or kind of fall off too. I just kind of see it on the way out. Texas and Oklahoma both ripping off a bunch of wins. I know that Big 12 fans are going to like to hear that. But I just kind of, for whatever reason, I just see it. And the talent, I think, is going to win out. Venables, I don't think so. A great head coach, pretty average. He's a great coordinator. But talent wins out, and they probably end up in this mid-tier ranking.
Yeah, you stole my line. Brent Venables is Will Muschamp 2.0. He's a great coordinator. but I have yet to see anything from him out as a head coach that's going to lead me to believe that he's going to do any good at Oklahoma. I understand it's going to be hard to replace a guy like Lincoln Riley, but I think that was a big miss on Oklahoma's part. So,
yeah.
I mean, you taking a guy who had a lot of success at Clemson in a conference like the ACC, which is just be honest, Clemson was just head and tails above. So, yeah, he had great success there. So he really has a lot to prove with Oklahoma.
The only thing I will say is Oklahoma's a proud program. They got gutted by Lincoln Riley the year before, and he's had back-to-back good recruiting years. So if he gets even, it's Gabriel as his quarterback, right? Do I have that right? Who's Oklahoma's quarterback? Remind me.
Yeah, who's in the chat?
It's not Dylan Gabriel.
Yes, it's Gabriel. That's right.
Okay, that's what I
they're
thought.
saying
Anyway, if he plays well, like we've seen him in flashes, I think Oklahoma could challenge for the tournament championship. I really do.
Apparently, Oklahoma's got a soft schedule, like a really soft schedule. So they might be ripping off a bunch of wins. But
I think they could easily fall out of bed and get 10 wins. I think they're going to lose to BYU,
yeah,
and they may lose to Texas. I don't know who else they lose to. So let's
I would
see.
love for BYU to beat Oklahoma. You know, a perfect.
BYU's going to beat Oklahoma and Texas.
That would be awesome.
yeah,
Beat both of
Oklahoma
them.
State, I think Oklahoma State will beat them too.
Right, Oklahoma's. Yeah, that's a great game too, as well. Obviously, the last Bedlam.
The last Bedlam.
Yeah, revenge on their mind. Okay, let's move to now Oregon State. We talked about them a little. Do you guys want to add anything to that one?
Yes. Okay, so let me explain my rationale behind Oregon State.
Okay.
I know everybody has them as a dark horse. I know they added DJ. But the problem is, I think that sometimes when you put a new element in chemistry, it can destroy the chemistry you have. I think Oregon State last year was just an in the trenches, run the ball team. I think with DJ, I think the coaches might feel the need to put more of a passing game together, and you kind of lose your identity of who you are. So I think if that becomes the case and they're trying to let DJ just wing the ball to show that they made the right move and bringing DJ over, I just think they're getting too far away from their identity. So I could be wrong, but that's my rationale on why I have Oregon State. I've got them at 23.
23, yeah.
That's interesting thoughts, Moan. I don't disagree with any of those. I kind of question the receiving talent at Oregon State, and if DJ is going to be airing it out a little bit more. Are they up to the challenge? Their running attack's really good. Their defense is good. The coaching staff's good.
Yeah.
It's got just a little feel that they might be a little overrated too.
They control the ball with their running and defense. If DJ doesn't turn the ball over like he's prone to at Clemson, they could win a lot of games. It's another team that's riding on the arm of their quarterback.
I think Clemson requires a lot more of their quarterback than Oregon State does. So I think it's a much better fit for him. I think he has the talent to do well as a quarterback that you're not relying on to win the game. But
right.
if they are controlling the ball and the other team has to focus a lot on the running, then I think he could be dangerous.
Before we move on, I just want to call out, we appreciate everybody being here. Please subscribe to the channel. If you want to make a comment, we're trying to get to those as we've been bringing them up. If you want to make sure your comment is definitely brought up, either a member, and those are highlighted to us, and you can join off the main page, or you can do a super chat, and of course, we read all of those. All right, let's move to the next one. TCU. I think this is a low ranking for TCU. I actually think they lost a bunch of people to the draft.
Mm-hmm.
So I think TCU's not going to have quite the cakewalk that I think a lot of other people are. I could be totally wrong. And if I am, I will definitely own it. I think there's going to be a little regression there.
Yeah, you know what? My thoughts on TCU, they have a lot of talent. You know, once Oklahoma and Texas leave, TCU is going to have the most four-star talent out of anybody in the Big 12. It'd be Utah and TCU at the top two. And I think that they can rebuild a little bit with that talent. I think that they're going to be fairly good, but they're going to take a huge step back. How couldn't you not, right? being in the championship game and everything. But yeah, they'll probably flirt with the top 25, but I don't see them contending for a Big 12 championship.
Yeah,
Owen?
me neither. I think TCU won a lot of close games last year, and a lot of that had to do with their quarterback. He's gone. I can see them regressing. Sonny is a very good coach, though. I think he's proved that. It's just going to be a rebuilding season for TCU. You know, they'll get ground under their feet here, and then next year will be their year. But this year, I just don't see it.
I think where I have TCU at 18, that is their rebuilding place. I think that TCU going forward is a power. I think that they've proved it. I think that they're in the location for it. So they are doing a step back this year, but that's where I think a step back for TCU is at this point in time. They're here to stay.
I definitely don't think they're disappearing by any means. We're just talking about the rankings to start the season, and I already talked about it. I don't need to talk about it anymore. Let's go to North Carolina, which is our number 20.
I got to jump on this one. So North Carolina to me is an enigma. Drake May is so dang good at football. This team could blow out our expectations. They're super unpredictable. So I think that with their talent and everything, this is a fitting place. But they might end up as a top 10 team at the end of the year, depending on how Drake plays. But really, when you've got a quarterback that good, you just never know really how good your team can be. I don't see them competing for a playoff spot, but I could see them certainly end up in the top 10 somehow at the end of the year.
Okay.
I don't disagree. I think it all comes down to the quarterback play. I mean, you could see some games in there being 55-53, double overtime games, because that just seems to be the way North Carolina plays some of these games. So they could be top 10. They could be out of the top 25 by the time the season's over.
As far as North Carolina, I have him at 23, and that's purely based upon the quarterback. We'll see how he does.
Yeah, I got him at 23 as well.
Yeah, he's a stud, but the rest of the team, we'll see.
Okay, let's go to the next one. So now we're on Texas Tech at 21.
Yeah, Joey McGuire's team, like a lot of they're kind of white hot. Everyone's talking about Texas Tech, got a returning talent coming back. I guess, as an outsider, not seeing too much of them last year and stuff, I don't really know the team that well, but I know that they've got good coaching and a lot of talent, so it kind of seems fitting they'd be creeping in the top 25.
Like I said, they could be a surprise one. I got them at 21. I really don't know how well they're going to do. There's a lot of buzz about them, and I think they're going to have something to prove this year, so we shall see.
I think I gave away the spot that probably should have gone to Texas Tech to BYU at number 25. But I think, again, they could run the table, right? They have a very favorable schedule, but they have to play in Provo in November, and that's not going to be an easy game. So I just know that to win out, especially with the schedule they've got, it could be tough. But yeah, they definitely can end up in the top 15. I'm not against that.
No, I think the only thing that might hurt them is, you're right, there have been a lot of talk around them being the it team this year in the Big 12.
Right.
Hopefully Joey McGuire's been able to keep them humble, because sometimes that can get in your ear and you might think you're better than you really are, and you go out there and blow it. So, but Joey McGuire seems to have been doing a good job so far as a coach. I think he'll be able to keep their expectations in check at least.
Very good. Let's move to the next one. Ole Miss. They kept their coach. I know that.
I have them at 9-3.
They kept their quarterback. So
yeah, they're a 9-3, 8-4 team. I think that's about where you would be ranked as a 9-3, 8-4 team coming out of the West Division of the SEC.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, I have them third in the West, so I think they might sneak one away from Alabama this year. I really do. I think that's the game that they might. That might be Alabama's
Tuscaloosa,
upset.
I think.
Yeah, but
it's in Tuscaloosa. So
I think Ole Miss will still still pull that one out. I just
Okay.
it seems like the game I have on the calendar for them that just Alabama lays an egg and Lane Kiffin goes in there and wins one over his old teacher. So
His teams do play better against that Alabama team.
yeah,
They do for sure. Yeah, I had them just one rank up, so I think that's perfect. Let's go number 22. Sorry, number 23 is Wisconsin.
The Badgers, I think Fickle's going to turn this roster around. It's not going to compete for a Big Ten championship, not going to be close to that yet. But I think it's making moves to the right size things, running back play. And I think Wisconsin's going to be borderline top 25, probably around 8-4, 7-5 type of year. But I think that in the future, watch out.
Yeah, I think you guys might have drank a little bit of the Kool-Aid. If you look at where Moen and I even gave them 24, and I'm looking at going, I don't know if they're going to even get that. I'm giving them that because of Fickle. They will become a power again under Fickle. It's just not going to be in the first year. He's not going to have all the people he needs to do exactly what he wants. It's going to be some type of a hybrid this year, which, maybe it'll work okay. Maybe it'll be a bust, but I'm not going to judge him on his first year. But people talking about Wisconsin winning the West this year, I don't get it. I don't see it.
Moen?
well, winning the West and the Big Ten, you could be 7 and a 7-win team and win the Big Ten West. So,
I was going to win
I don't even
one, so
I don't have Wisconsin in my top 25 for the same reasons. Luke Fickle is probably the best coaching hire in the offseason. But it's going to take him some time. Trying to run a new system up there, it's going to take him some time. But I'm going to tell you right now, 2-3 years down the road, don't be shocked if he wins the Big Ten and Wisconsin's a playoff team.
Yep.
He's that kind of coach. He can really turn a program around. So,
Yep. I want to correct something I said just a minute ago. I had Texas Tech higher actually than the ranking that was on here. For some reason I couldn't see them and I lost track, but I had Texas Tech at 19. Anyway, Wisconsin, that's who we're talking about. Fickle is a fantastic coach, and I don't know. I wouldn't vote against them turning around that team.
I mean, I have them losing 3 games this year. So, if that's true and they go 9-3, I think 24 is a fair ranking.
Are they still divisions in the Big Ten?
Yes, last year divisions. And
so
they
could win it and end up in the championship game.
yes.
I mean, technically speaking, yes.
Yeah. Well, who else is going to beat them in the West? Let's
Iowa.
talk about that. Really?
Yeah.
I don't.
I have Iowa going
Really?
11-1.
All right. Oh, okay, Immaculate. Please tell
Oh
us.
my gosh! Do you really?
Yeah, I have them going 11-1 and ranked 22. Like people saying that that's a bias pick. Okay, maybe. But if I'm saying they're going 11-1, I should at least have them higher than 25.
Okay, let me grab the schedule.
We're
Gonna
grab
check
the
it
schedule.
right
It's
now.
Iowa's up next.
It's the
Let's
easiest
check it
schedule
out.
in the entire
Oh,
FBS, okay? It
I
is
believe you.
easy.
Boy,
It's like
don't-
pie.
Immaculate.
All right.
Well,
This is the most
Iowa
emotional I've
State-
seen you be.
Yeah, because
let's
I'm
go
having
with
to talk
Iowa State.
Okay.
over.
It's
I'm having
okay.
to talk over.
Man, that is pretty
okay.
paper.
Dude,
Just
it
saying,
is
everybody
so
just take
easy.
a deep breath.
People say I'm going to be biased. Yeah, but look at this schedule.
It's okay to
easy.
be biased. It's all right.
I have them losing
All right.
to Penn State for their first Big Ten game of the year, going into
Okay.
Penn State, and
So
I think it's
they
going
win
to be
the-
brutal.
So they win the Cyhawk game, you're saying, right? You haven't beaten Iowa State at Ames.
Yeah, like this is going to be like the like both teams are going to be depleted and trying to figure themselves out still at this
Okay.
point. So I do
Now
have
let's-
them winning.
Then we drop to Western Michigan. That's a gimme. Penn
Yeah.
State, I think that's an L.
Hell.
They probably beat Michigan State. I don't know anything about Purdue. Do you guys know anything
Yeah,
about Purdue?
New coach, they're rebuilding too.
Rebuilding
Okay,
it's
so
at
that's
Iowa.
a win.
Mhm.
I think they lose to Wisconsin.
Oh, geez.
That's
Thanks,
3.
William.
Okay, now look, that's at Wisconsin. If that's a primetime game,
Mhm.
I think you're right. I think Iowa loses primetime in Camp Randall.
I think so. But we'll have to see. Anyway, let's keep going.
We'll
Northwestern, I got you. In fact, is Northwestern going to have to forfeit all their games this year? I don't know. And then Rutgers, that's another one. Illinois, that's another gimme.
Holy smoke! What
Oh,
a
that's not a gimme. Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Illinois
is not a gimme.
is going to be a gimme for Iowa.
It's at Iowa. It's at Iowa. We're
It's
gonna
at
win that.
I don't
Iowa.
care.
See, I'm looking at these home
That's-
games here.
That
Dude.
Illinois-Iowa game is going to be like 9-6.
Belima is going to come to
Okay.
town. He's going to be
Okay.
back in Iowa City where he remembers. We're going to take him out to the bars the night before, get him all freaking loopy drunk. And the next day, he's going to not even know what he's doing. It's fine. We're good.
So the
We
real
got this.
throw, the toss in the air is where's Nebraska going to be this
They
year?
beat Iowa last year, and I'm saying they're not going to allow this to happen again. And
It's
win
in Lincoln.
I know. But if they are at that point in time 10-1, like I'm saying,
Right.
this is a very big deal for them. But
All right.
now that Cade is injured as of today,
Possibly could.
we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how his knee holds up. He's
I think
already
they're an
having problems with
8-4,
it.
9-3 team.
Yeah, that's what everyone thinks. That's fine.
That's all right. That's why we do this. This is the
Oh,
fun
yeah.
part of this stuff. All right, let's move to the next one. Texas A&M. I do not have Texas A&M on my top 25, so somebody justify them being there.
It's a
Talent
talent
alone.
pick.
That's
It's a
it.
talent pick.
Talent?
It's like, yeah, I had to add them just for talent alone, but if they
All right.
lose out, I won't be surprised.
And Bobby Petrino can coach plays. I mean, he's a good coordinator.
Right.
He's a shitty human being, but he's a good coordinator. So, I mean, you got to give him some points there. We'll see how he works with Jimbo Fisher, but
I like this. Let's look at this. Greg Swain comment. Iowa couldn't score in a brothel with a stack of $100 bills.
That was last year. And he's right.
their
But here's
That's a
defense
great
good.
comment.
Here's
Greg.
the thing. If
great
we
comment.
don't score an average of 25 points a game
Right.
this year,
Right.
then our offensive coordinator is fired.
Okay.
So I don't
Yeah,
even
the
think he's
coach
going to
is
be
fired.
calling his own plays. I think he's going to hire some guy, put him up in there with him, and he's going to like just hand him the plays and what to do. Like,
Okay.
The offensive coordinator and the head coach will be fired.
yeah. And so if we fail, if
Probably.
they don't do what I'm saying, and he doesn't
Yeah.
get the 25 points per game, then win-win. We start new and we bring in someone else, and okay.
So the only two teams we haven't spoken about, but they're still on this list, are BYU and Baylor. Sorry, I voted for Pitt. I was the only one that voted for Pitt. You guys don't think Pitt's going to be good this year?
I know nothing about them. I mean, honestly, I don't
I-
know.
Nothing special.
The ACC is so top heavy
Right.
that you could get all these teams like right in the middle. So it's really hard to pick
Right.
who you think. Like I put Pitt could be 1 or 2 losses above or below UNC.
Okay.
But I think UNC just because of the quarterback play.
All right. So let's go around the horn. Somebody pick one team on this list or that's not on this list and justify their final ranking in a positive sense. I don't want to talk about teams that are going to go 1-11.
Are you talking about from 26 to 29?
No, I'm talking about the whole top 25. What's the one team in the whole top 25 that you guys think is going to overperform to the point where people are going to be paying attention?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. And why?
I think Shane Beamer has got that squad ready to go. I think he has just gotten better year after year. I think they're going to pull some upsets this year. I could
Is
see
Rattler
them,
still there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
and I could see them being the school that beats Georgia. I could see that.
Wow.
They're going to pull off an upset this year.
Okay.
That's just me. That's my dark horse. I know everybody else was in love with some other teams like Oregon State, but South Carolina for me is my dark horse.
You know, a perfect cracker's in the chat, and he's like, pull up the schedule for OU. And let's do it because I'm going to say OU just because I have no idea how easy the schedule is going to be. I'm guessing it's going to be a cakewalk.
Let's see what we got.
But if it's paper thin, I'm going to say OU. I think he's right on to something right here. So,
all right. So,
all right, here we go. Let me
when
bring up the whole thing. Hang on 1 sec. All right. So we'll start at the beginning. Arkansas State win. SMU win. Tulsa's a win. Cincinnati at home. Yeah, I'll give them a win
probably.
on that.
Yeah, they're recouping from the loss of Fickle.
Iowa State at home, yes. So Red River is their
That's
first
one,
game.
right?
They could be 7-0.
Yeah,
I'm going
going
Texas on that one.
I'm going Texas too on that one.
It's the
Same.
last.
Texas
Big
demolished them
12
in the
Red
last
River.
one. So
Then you got
no,
UCF.
they'll keep doing that over in the SEC. By the way,
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a pick 'em. I wouldn't, even though Texas is at home at this point. Sarkisian might be fighting for his job.
I'm looking for the UCF upset.
All right, so UCF's the next one. You picking UCF there?
I'm not picking
In
it, but I'm
Norman?
saying if I'm looking for one here, that after that Texas game, after especially if Oklahoma wins that Texas game, then I'm definitely looking at the UCF the next week. Them kind of,
Dylan Gabriel's going to drill his old team, and that's a home game. I don't see Oklahoma losing that one.
We'll see.
Okay, and then we get to Kansas at Kansas.
Tough game, but they should win.
That's a tough game.
Oklahoma State, they should win that. They'll be favored to win that. Yeah, he's right. I mean, seriously, a perfect cracker's right. This team is going to be a top 10 team with wins.
The trap game is this BYU game in November in Provo.
I hope so.
I know, I'm being dead serious. It is, because before it was West Virginia's, and you could probably say that's a tune-up. But what are the chances they're looking past BYU to get to TCU if they're 11-1? I'm just telling. If I have $100 available and I bet sports, I would take BYU in November. And I'm not the only one that says that, by the way. I've had Oklahoma tell me they're scared of that game too. So
there's not a lot of losses on the schedule, though, for as talented as Oklahoma is.
Yeah, no, it's this one. It's the Red River Shootout. I still think it's this last road game to BYU, and then TCU at home to finish.
TCU needs to go in there and have a spoiler.
And Oklahoma State, yeah, that's a passionate game for sure.
How does Oklahoma State look this year? I haven't heard anything about it except for they've been losing guys in the transfer.
It's another Gundy team. He reloaded. He did really well in the recruiting. Yeah.
I think it's more about the passion. This is the last Bedlam. It's at Oklahoma State. Those fans are going to be fired up.
Yep.
I think it's very fair.
One thing I think we need to be wary of going forward now with the new way of things are happening with transfer portals and whatnot. We need to be careful on recruiting rankings, because if we have schools who lose a lot of guys in the transfer portal, they're going to have more available scholarships to get more recruits, as freshmen. So it's going to kind of artificially inflate their recruiting numbers just based upon numbers. And so that's why I was kind of thinking with Oklahoma State is they lost quite a bit in the transfer portal. So if they're getting higher numbers in recruiting, is that a good thing? I mean, it's just a very young team.
Right. Any of these other teams, before we move on to another topic, any of these teams you guys want to speak of before we leave this?
I would say again, I think the story of this year, and I'm being hopeful in this, is Oregon State. I think that's just the one that I want to watch. I hope that game day goes there at least once this year to talk about that. I just think they have all the reason in the world this year to overperform.
Okay. My team is BYU, but I think you guys could probably figure that out. So,
Bomber, will you elaborate that on a little bit? Talk about
I think you bet, absolutely, I can justify it. They got they have a really, really good team that last year their defense had no scheme. So even if they played moderate defense last year, they win 10 games. So the 8-5 is a myth, and they're going to surprise a lot of people because Jay Hill, Jay Hill, he was up on the hill. And he was at Weber State, and he is a defensive wizard. Knows how to bring pressure, knows how to go do cover zero blitzes. And, I think BYU could win 8 or 9 and maybe even 10 games this year.
Oh, I got some breaking news here, guys. You want it?
Sure.
Let's put it up, Moan. Is it on Twitter?
Yeah, what is it?
Agreement between the NCAA and Jim Harbaugh has reportedly broken down. So,
what does that mean?
He's not
apparently
suspended.
The 4-game suspension was not approved. It was not approved. It could go back for more.
Well, what it means is next year he's probably going to get an even larger suspension, but this year he won't be suspended.
That's ridiculous. All right, let's. What do you want to go to next? You?
Yeah, I think that'd be fun just to open up the lines for anybody
Okay.
else that wants to jump on.
Absolutely.
Oh, this could
I
get
mean,
good.
we do have to, if we're going to have open mic, as it were, when people call in, just know that we have to limit these so we can get as many people in as you can. So you come in and give us your question or comment, and then we'll talk about it for a sec, and then we'll need to move to the next caller, just so everybody knows that.
Yeah, we need a
Saying that
shot
up
clock,
front.
like a 3-5 minute shot clock and stuff, so we can.
We don't have that. I asked you to build me one, and you didn't do that.
It's all in the mind, Bomber.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing. I know my mission control here.
No, but
All
yeah,
right, there you go. There's the link.
Community, yeah, jump on and let us know.
Click that link and join us. Yep.
Yeah. And in the meantime,
really quick, while we're waiting, the latest on the ACC. What's the latest you've heard, Moen? You seem to be the most plugged in there.
Nothing. Florida State's not done anything. They probably won't do anything.
I don't think they will.
Yeah, War Chant has started to walk back their story. So
the whole thing seemed overblown to me. Once the Big Ten pulled out, I think they lost all their leverage, and the air went out of the balloon.
I kind of have a little bit of a different take. I think that actually, from what we're seeing right now, based on the Stanford situation and all the numbers coming out on voting, is that there's actually more interest in the ACC of schools to get out than just like a Florida State and a Clemson. So I think that the smart choice by them is actually not to bust out for a huge amount of money and to hold off. And they're going to look bad for it. People are going to be like, oh, you guys lied. You cried wolf. But if all these other schools are actually interested in possibly getting out as well, getting out right now and busting out for that amount of money, you're just serving their interest more so than you are your own. It looks like cracks are starting to form inside over Notre Dame and what Notre Dame is doing.
I think they have pissed off so many people.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So I think there's other cracks now that maybe weren't there before. And so maybe the situation has changed. There was a Clemson insider on 365 that just came on saying, oh, they're absolutely ready to go. They just need to know that they have a spot. They need an invite. Now, I'm not saying that's for real, but that's someone who's coming out and saying that, I guess.
Right.
His article, his thing is called the Clemson Insider. So I don't know if he's a writer for them or what.
I think I heard him on 365 Sports talking about that too. FSU and Clemson are apparently just waiting for the actual formal invite from the SEC or the Big, and then they're going to make the move. They feel comfortable getting out of the grant of rights, and they just don't have the invite yet. So, see if that comes.
Yeah,
that's not going to come. So
I don't think that's going to be there.
Neither of those conferences is saying, "Look, go ahead and put us in litigation." ESPN and ACC, they can request. Just like everybody else does. They can make that request.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they'll get an invite.
Doesn't mean they'll get an invite, but they can make a request for membership, which they haven't done yet. So
right.
I think that they have at least very close to the numbers to threaten a dissolution vote still. From what we saw on schools that were actually named in this, we saw up to 6. Seen a couple of reports that there's another one that abstained, so 7. Is if they don't bring this in for Notre Dame, is Notre Dame trying to bring in Stanford for themselves?
No,
are they trying to do them a favor, before they pull. I don't know, but I think that it's not over, and it's going to look like it's over, and that's understandable. But just from what we're seeing on this vote, though, I think there's some pretty clear lines within that conference of split and determination of where people want to go in the future.
I think Andrew Luck's come in it. Andrew Luck, his dad, Luck has been engaged by Stanford and for the Pac-4, and I really think that what you're going to find happening in the next weeks is the AAC. A few teams from the AAC, a few teams from the Mountain West Conference all join and create sort of a pan-American conference. And I think he's going to – he seems to be a man on a mission.
Have you done the math on what that requires in terms of money for exit fees?
Yeah, they would. The league would have to pay, roughly –
It's insane.
No, you're misunderstanding. Sorry, I didn't complete my statement. They wouldn't join for 24. they would join in 25 when that fee goes away for the Mountain West Conference, because their GORE ends. So they can, if they wait till 25, they still have to pay an exit fee, but they're not tied to their media rights. The exit fee is just to get out of the league. So it's not the 34 million that it would be now. If they didn't go until 25, then that's back down to 10 to 17 million dollars a school.
Right. Okay, but we're acting like that's not a crazy amount of money compared to what that conference could actually get for a TV deal. They don't have.
They think they're going to get 16 to 18 million dollars, maybe 20 on All Apple.
Nope.
Okay, I'm just telling you what I've read. I'm not making this up.
Okay, but we've seen this story before. I mean,
well, I didn't say there was a likelihood. I said
that's
what I think they're going to try to do.
Saying, I'm going to get this across real quick, and then I'm just not going to say any more about it. Then I think that it's a fake story by Stanford and Cal and Washington State and Oregon State to try to get their last-ditch effort to get into the Big 12s and the ACC conferences, because what they're basically threatening to do is what the Big 12 did, is to bring up G5s that creates new autonomous votes. It's just a big threat, in my opinion. But the cost and the unknown, like, okay, the networks are going to know you're in a position of weakness. We need to get a deal within a year. As far as having these schools come in 25, who are Stanford and Cal and Washington State and Oregon State playing next year then? They're not going to have a pack schedule, so they got to fill it with whom? FCS schools? The amount of money that they'll lose in just tickets sold at home for that, it's much more feasible that they actually in the end go to either the Mountain West or the AC, because they'll have immediate games and immediate schedules lined up for them in 2024. I'm sorry, I just think that people are getting themselves a little too built up for that being a possibility, and I just think it's a ploy made by these schools one last time to get up to one of those two conferences instead of going to either the AAC or Mountain West.
There's no way Stanford joins the Mountain West, AAC, or the Big 12.
We said there's no way that the pack was going to disappear.
I didn't say that.
I mean, people say that. I think that they're going to have to make a choice that they don't like.
Okay. I think there is an opportunity there. It might not be likely, but I think it's not just smoke. So
maybe. I mean, if they got the money for that.
So we've got over 75 people in the house. Hey, the phone lines are open. We want to hear from you guys out there. Your thoughts on the schedules, ranking prediction, whatever you want to talk about, realignment. Please join the show. There's a good comment right here too. We should talk about, guys, because I
wait a second. You took away my Craig Kirsch comment.
So, hey, talk about the BYU. Talk about that.
It's fine. I'll just say it. Craig Kirsch says BYU is going to go 6-6, and he's a BYU fan. I'm just telling you, I'm a believer. So that's the quick answer to that. Go to the next one.
So Bomber, are you 10-2 for BYU this season?
No, I think they're more likely 8-4.
8-4.
But again, I think that they can catch some people. We were talking pie in the sky. What would be the team that could do the best, highest upside? And I think it is BYU. But
do you think that BYU is going to end up with a better record than the Utes this season?
That's a great question.
Does
I think it's possible.
Upon Cam?
Yeah, it's all about if Cam's hurt. I don't have any faith in your backup quarterbacks.
Yeah.
If you have Cam, probably not. If you don't, they probably do.
Yeah, if they have Cam, they can win 9-10 games. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a special season if Cam's there.
I posted the link. If you want to join the show, just click on the hyperlink in the comment section, and it'll bring you right in. Go ahead, you.
Yeah, so with 16 teams in the Big 12, this is an AMAC question. There's a lot more football inventory. Yeah, there is. Have the network time slots been increased? Are the 16 fighting for the same slots as the 12? That hasn't really been discussed a lot. I thought that was kind of an interesting question. The response to that is I think that's going to be negotiated. At the end of the day, we'll see how it all shakes out with these West Coast schools like Cal and Stanford. But really, I think that you're going to see Big 12 after dark and really opening up in that late night time slot where the Pac-12 used to play in that. It should be the Big 12 after dark branding really in the future. What do you guys think?
That's kind of tough at the end of the season because they don't actually have a real Pacific Coast team, and the Arizona teams switch well, we don't switch. We stay Mountain.
Everybody
and then
else
the
switches.
time catches up to us. And so
Yeah.
in the latter half of the season, that might become a problem. So I don't know if that's really a good move for them, but they might, just because, like you're saying, just to get more teams shown. That's a really good question. We'd have to go in to see like how ESPN is picking and choosing between the SEC and the Big 12. I think it comes down to how well any certain Big 12 teams are doing during the season. There's probably going to be some middle ground there between Big 12 and SEC picks with ESPN, where that's who you guys are competing against for some spots. So you may not have more initially at that point, but yeah, we'll see.
I think the branding after dark is going to go away.
I don't see it going away.
It was an ill-conceived idea in the first place.
ESPN needs that inventory. Somebody's got to.
I'm not saying they're not going to play the games. I'm saying they're going to get rid of the after dark.
Oh,
label.
Okay. So what are we going to call it? Big 12
games at 7:00. They're just going to be games. They don't need a gimmick. The Pac-12 did that as a gimmick to try to draw attention. It killed the conference. They put their best teams in these late windows. Nobody was watching the games. That's why they couldn't get a media deal. So I don't think there's any way Yormark takes that brand and in any way, shape, or form tries to. Why do you have to tell people set the setting for when the game is? You just put the time out there and say this is when the game is. So
I kind of like the After Dark. There's kind of a fun little buzz about it and stuff. So I guess like as a Pac guy, I have different views of it.
Sure,
absolutely. I don't like being at the game at 8:30, guys. Like it's 8:30 Mountain Kick for a lot of these games. You don't get home till 2 a.m. It sucks. So I don't love that, but the branding part I think is kind of fun.
BYU plays well in the night windows. That's another reason that I think they're 16-4 in the last games that have been 7:30 or later. So it's hard to want to play those games.
After hours with Big 12.
Why don't we call it night court? Big 12 night court. I don't know. The names are kind of goofy.
That's for the basketball games. Yeah. The basketball games will be night court.
Okay. Let's see here. There was a comment here by Greg. Where did it go? Oh, this one right here. You starting off 0-2 at backup quarterback, possibly worse.
Greg changed his logo. Greg changed his logo. Looks like
did he? I didn't look. Oh yeah, he does have a different one. I'm going to post the link again. If we don't have anybody that's going to join, maybe we'll just cut this one early tonight. If we can't get people. I mean, the show. Let's be very clear. We're here for you guys. We're not here for ourselves. We talk together all the time. We're a good team. But if you guys just want to just end it there, and that that's cool. If nobody wants to join the show.
I mean, does anyone have any? Some of them been talking any realignment questions that they want to go over.
I mean, we're seeing them pop up. Mr. Monkey says, honestly, I cringe when Bean has to make decisions. Who's he talking about there? Who's Bean?
So Mr. Monkey is he a KU fan?
I think
I don't know about. Who Mr. Bean is.
I think he's talking about their backup quarterback when he had to.
Their backup.
Yeah, Bean's the backup.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about this one. AMAC says, do y'all think maybe Thursday night and Friday night games?
Yeah.
The Texas teams do not want to play Friday night games because of high school football.
Yeah.
So, what are there 4 or 5 Texas teams in the league? That's
5. Yep.
Yeah, that's a lot of teams you're taking out of circulation for night games. Thursday night, you're against the NFL.
Yeah, so, Thursday night's out.
Yeah,
Friday night, I don't know that the Big 12 is going to do that, but I see the Big 10 doing that.
BYU does Friday night games.
Right.
They have one every fall. There's a conference that the church has over a weekend, and so they need to play a Friday game instead of a Saturday game. And so BYU on this season is playing a Friday game. Can't remember who it's again. Maybe it's Iowa State. So I know BYU will, if need be, play Thursday or Friday games. I don't think they play any Thursday.
We already play them in the Big 10, but I think you're going to see Amazon emerge as a 4th media partner for the Big 10 here shortly. And we're going to
I believe that too.
Prime time Friday night game on Amazon with Big 10 teams. and Oregon and Washington get to take up a couple of them slots. So,
Yep.
That'll be Big
Agreed.
Ten out west.
I think the Big
Craig,
12 needs to
sorry.
look at some more partners. Like, we keep hearing about, CW or whatever. Just, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant, but they just need to get teams shown. I would look at a third partner if I was the Big 12.
I think he is. He's been trying to shop
Yeah.
basketball games. And Amazon was the one he was dealing with. He's avoided Apple. From all the stuff I've read, it's been mostly conversations about Amazon. I don't know that they've held official talks, but I know there's been conversations at the office about bringing in. And part of it was if they picked up Washington State and Oregon State, for instance, they would add additional inventory that they could put those games on Amazon. But it's really you're starting to see basketball get some of those negotiations, and I think you will get some of those games on Amazon and maybe Apple too. I don't know.
I think that some of the names that were thrown out for cable channels were being underappreciated. It's not that I'm building them up as amazing, but if
Right.
like one of the TBS channels or Ion or CW wants to have a small deal with them to put on a game, and if you're the Big 12, I think you take it, even if it's not a huge payout. It is visibility, and that's going to be key for the Big 12 because we're already seeing kind of the uphill climb of folks saying, "Oh, you're not in the Big 2," and blah 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 blah.
Right.
I think just having as much visibility as you can possibly get is a big win for the conference. And so, I think some of these names that were tossed around as possibly looking at the pack, I think Yormark needs to get on it and get one or two of those lined up as not picking it where ESPN and Fox are picking for games,
Right.
but after they get their picks to then throw some stuff on there.
Anybody else want to mention that before I go to another comment?
Yeah, I think some of those go to ESPN Plus as it exists right now. But who knows how long ESPN Plus continues to exist with the Hulu, Disney Plus, all that.
Well, the DTC initiative too is going to be, direct to consumer is going to take a different form as well. Let's see here. Starry, who I love Starry, a Texas Tech fan. Yeah, I've got like 5 Texas Tech fans, and Starry's one of them. He says, Nathan, looking to make the trip to Provo. Can you tell me what a Cougar Tail is? If you're going to make the trip, Starry, I'm going to that Texas Tech game. So I would absolutely love to meet up with you. Maybe we could do dinner before. If you're coming for a weekend, we could get together. So yeah, I'm looking. That's actually the game I got tickets for this year. As far as a Cougar Tail, it's just a big maple bar. It's a maple bar that's 4 times the size of a regular one, and they're really good. They're made at the Creamery, and the Creamery's famous for its sweets.
It's nothing inappropriate, Starry. Don't worry about
it.
that.
It is not. If he's trying to make a joke, then I didn't bite. So I ignored that. Jason Spangler says, yeah, I can't call in, but do you guys have any idea where the Big 12 branding might go? That's a great question. What do you guys think?
We've actually had a few conversations about this, and I don't know. Like, what direction do you want to go in? Do you want to have it be some type of a name that is real catchy? Do you want to keep it traditional? I don't know. That I would love to see just a long list of ideas that people come up with and just kind of go from there and see what can be made of it. But I'm sure Yormark probably has some ideas.
Oh, he probably has 10,000 of them. Yeah.
Whoever pays the most money for the conference name, that's what I'm saying.
Well, and that's a little different. You have the naming rights, right, versus the actual name of the conference, Big 12. So it's that you could be Amazon presents the big whatever. I think they walk away from a number. Because
I think they walk away from the word big.
It's quite possible they do the whole new thing.
It kind of looks like you're just following in the footsteps of the Big Ten, to be honest.
Like the Transcontinental Network
case,
or conference or something. I could easily see them doing something like that.
The gigantic 20.
You know what? I am a big fan of John Wick. I would call it the Continental.
Man.
Oh, there you go. The Continental.
The Continental Conference.
It's a good series. Greg had to change his login because he was only getting half his comments through for some reason. So that's why he's got a different logo there. Let's see here. I posted the link. Everybody, here's the link again. If you want to join the show, if you're just joining us now, we got 80 people in here, which is fantastic on a Saturday afternoon. That's a wonderful number. If you're new to the channel or just popped in this second, please subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Definitely leave a comment or a suggestion. If you want to join the show, you can leave a comment, or you can do a super chat. We read all super chats, so that one won't be skipped. And then the other option is you could become a member. Just go to the main Big 12 and Holy Rivals page, hit the join button right in the center of the page. It'll take you to some different member options. All right, let's see. Boy, we had some really good comments today.
Yeah, here's a good one too. I'm going to select one, okay, Bomber?
Yeah, please, of course, yeah.
So Oliver Luckwood is being discussed as a someone to bring in to basically.
They did. He's already been there. He's been there 2 days.
Yeah, so he's been hired. He's going to be a consultant. So
yeah, he's already there.
So
I talked to Jim Williams this morning though, and he told me that Stanford hired him. That's a little different. Stanford hiring him is different than the conference hiring him.
Yeah.
So I think he's consulting with the conference, but Stanford hired him.
And that just goes to show you there is division there.
Oh, for sure.
They are not together.
Absolutely.
And can you imagine, like, if they actually brought in all those schools to the Pac-12, like, who's leading that? Who's running that? Who's going to run front person for negotiations with networks?
No idea.
That's a rough one.
Yep.
Perfect Cracker says, Greg Swain, YouTube has been screwing around. My ad blockers have been messing up my chat also. So we troubleshot Greg's problem, trying to get it so that his chats would come through. We weren't blocking anybody. There's only one person we blocked that I know of because I did it. And I'm not going to mention his name, but it was because he was not being a good part of the community. So,
Nathan would like to ask that. He asked me a question in chat about what ACC schools I thought would be going to the Big 12, and I answered him in chat, but he's asking if you guys could answer that as well.
Moen has to leave. Is that what he's saying?
I've got a jet right now, guys.
Oh, you've got to go. Okay. All right.
Keep the comments rolling in. Okay.
You want to do the last thing on the Crimson Collective and the right? So
the Clemson. So for Monday's show, we're gonna bring in the Coup Connect and the Crimson Collective directors. And so we're going to learn a little bit more about collectives, how they work, the A's through Z's. We're going to debunk about a lot of stuff that I think is not true about collectives. And so
we're talking about name, image, and likeness, NIL collectives, so everybody knows what that means.
Yep. So that's what's on for Monday's docket and stuff. So we'll get some intel on that, so we all understand more about collectives, because we need to know more about NIL and collectives, because
and background information on both Utah and BYU. Absolutely. So join us Monday night at 8:30 Eastern. And so you got to go.
Yep. Take care, guys.
Okay. All right. We'll see you later.
Have a good one, man.
See ya.
See you.
Let's see.
So we've talked about it plenty. What
did you ask?
What ACC schools do you see going to the Big 12? Should things break down there? That's what someone was asking.
The ones we've talked about is Pitt, Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
There's various people that say Syracuse. I don't think Syracuse. I think North Carolina State. Unless they're not available, then you pick up Syracuse, and then Virginia Tech is another one that could go with Virginia. Their the district attorney or whatever his name, state's attorney guy,
AG,
attorney general, said that wherever they go, they got to stay together. So we'll have to see, but there's about 4 or 5 that everybody's talked about. All I know is the Big 12 gets a lot bigger. I mean, not bigger, better.
Yeah.
If they pick up Pitt, if you happen to steal a North Carolina State and a Virginia Tech and a Louisville, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
the league would be worth a lot more money and a lot more stable.
In terms of Syracuse as well, I would say Syracuse is great if you're getting the ACC network repurposed as the Big 12 network, because then that gets you in market rates with New York, and you don't have to wait until you get basketball schools to get that.
Yeah, very fair. Blake, welcome to the show. It's good to see you.
Hey, man, I'm live. Am I live in this?
You are live. Yes,
you're here.
Oh, man. Okay. I don't even know where to start. Okay. Voice of college football, a respected channel, right? I think we'd all
Right.
agree.
Mhm.
And if I have not seen a more biased, disrespectful channel towards the Big 12, I mean, I don't even know where to start. Okay. The Tony Altimores of the world, we know the Tony Altimores of the world, okay?
Right.
God bless him. There's another character on there named Tim, the
Pringley.
Yeah.
Tim
I mean,
Pringley.
He's
this
not a
guy,
fan of the Big 12.
This guy is
He's a USC guy.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I really only watch regular like YouTube and all these channels maybe for the past, like, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, 8 months. Where
Right.
I've really kind of gotten into it. I really kind of fell in love with some of the characters like Golden Blue and all this. I remember distinctively seeing the Tim character on Golden Blue Dude's channel and the Voice of College Football channel and a couple other random ones.
Okay.
And all he preached was how much better and fortified and solid the Pac-12 was. That's all I remember vividly. That's all he talked about.
Right.
And this was before really realignment broached the doorstep of where it got the last 10 months of the Pac-12.
Right.
And it was basically just all like Big 12's trash. It's horrible. Pac-12 is the greatest conference of champions. You know, we know the story. So I watched today earlier, Wild Ute was on that channel, and I just happened to be on YouTube. I was, in front of my computer. I saw it, and I don't even watch that channel regularly, the Voice of College Football. But if I see it's live, I'll pull it on. And I saw Wild Ute, so I was like, oh, here, I'll watch this. After he got done with his chat, I saw that he was up, or I can't remember if I rewinded it back or whatever. But I saw Tim talking, and his whole dialogue on his excerpt was basically, I've never been a Pac-12 supporter. I've been a USC supporter. And
oh my gosh.
I started to go into this whole rant of how go back and, look at all of my stories and all of my videos, my whole career. And I've never been a supporter of the Pac-12. And I've always, that would be stupid to be a supporter of the Pac-12. And that it doesn't do me any good for Washington or Oregon to do well. I'm only about, USC. And I literally was there. I was listening to him, and I was looking at all the comments, and there was so many people in the comments. They're like, yeah, Tim's, for real, and blah, blah. He's support. That dude is literally the biggest liar that I've ever witnessed. It almost reminds me, not even to be political, but I hate people that are like so much so in politics too, where they are vehemently this, and then 12 months later, it's the polar opposite, and they almost pretend they never believe that belief, and they just walk amongst the world like they never thought that. That dude, Tim, is literally like the epitome of somebody that says one thing and then says something completely different. And he can literally just go on public feeds like this and just say that. So his whole spiel was basically how the Big 12 now is irrelevant, and they're basically just on the doorstep of what the Pac-12 just was. And I just, the thing that I want to say about the Big 12 is this. There's the SEC. We know the SEC is what the SEC is.
Right.
They don't have major NFL pro town sports down there in the South, right? It's a premier college town. That's why it means more down there, right?
Right.
There has been many people in the ESPN world, the Fox world, that have always said the Big 12 is basically the step down of the SEC, because we're still in the South, right? We're not necessarily the SEC, but dude, the Big 12 is basically Southern football, Texas, Midwest. We have been bred our whole life to love and live by sports. So
Right.
it kills me when I see like people like Tim, and there's other people, but when they come on these public feeds and they're in these little, rich town, like, ooh, I'm from Southern California, I'm from San Francisco, California, and now all of a sudden they don't care about that, but now they care about the Big Ten. But
Right.
they're all about football. They don't know what football is. They don't know football towns. They don't know what it is to live, breathe, and die the college football world. So when I see people that disrespect the Big 12 all the time, it just makes me laugh. I'm thinking, you guys are, I've lived in Chicago, I've lived in Miami, I've lived in New York, and I've lived in Los Angeles. So I know all of them. I've talked to you before how I know Deion Sanders. Like I used to make movies for a living. Like Deion Sanders is one of the movies that I made years ago was called White Tea. He's in it. Debo from Friday, Faison Love, Eric Roberts. I used to make him for a living. I know him well, and he's loyal to Colorado. He will be loyal in Colorado because he wants to prove a point. But my point is these big city slicker people, like from the West Coast, they don't really care and love football like the Midwest does. We are so passionate about it. So moving forward with the Holy Rivals, with the Oklahoma States, with the K-States rising up, Arizona schools moving in and joining us, I think there's this new sense of, I think the Big 12 is really going to look to prove a point. And I think they're going to go guns blazing against the SEC and the Big 10. The Big 12 name has been disrespected for so many years now that it's almost comical to think that we're going to let East Coast, schools like the Notre Dames and the Clemsons and the West Coast, USCs and the US disrespect us when we literally live, breathe, and die football. I think with Brett Yormark at the helm and all this, I think we're going to prove everybody wrong. I guarantee in 5 years, the Big Ten is going to be very, very concerned at how tough the Big 12 is coming at their doorstep and beating them. I think they think the Michigan TCU game was a fluke. That was one game, and we weren't even really prepared for it. The Big 12 will be ready in the future years, and I think that everybody in our conference knows, down from the presidents to the athletic directors, we're not playing these games anymore. We're ready to win. We're going to dominate. And now that you have two conferences that are like on lifeblood support,
right,
there's going to be a lot more 5 stars that are going to, because we've had Texas and Oklahoma primarily, collecting 5, 10, 15, 20 of those and just sucking them up. Well, they're in a different conference. And don't think for a second, just because they're going to a different conference, that Oklahoma State and Texas State we don't live here anymore on the continent. We're still here. We're going to win. And I think a lot of people from Houston, Texas area, Oklahoma area, they're just going to go, nah, we don't want to go to the SEC. We're just going to play for our beloved schools, the Oklahoma States and the TCUs and the Baylors. We're going to get more 5 stars there, and I think the pendulum swing is going to happen. So that channel, the Voice of College Football, I just can't even respect that channel anymore. The people that go on there, they're just all they do is disrespect the Big 12 constantly. It's crazy. And they're all like West Coast and Big 10 fans, and half of them, if you go and look at the actual like win-loss categories of them when they play Big 12, it's almost 50-50. Like they don't even beat us. USC comes into K-State, they don't even beat K-State. And this is like you go through all the teams that have come from the West Coast into the Midwest and played, the stats will blow you away. And they just sit up there on their little pedestal and think they're greater than us. And it's like, we invented football. We know how to play football. And then Big 12, we run basketball. So I can't take it anymore. It drives me crazy. Larry Pilgrim, who I've respected, he goes on that same channel and he doesn't even mention the Big 12. And then he has the literal disrespect to say on that channel how, yeah, we're going somewhere, for a bit, and then we'll see what plays out. Fuck that guy. He still doesn't get it. How do you feel like Texas, Kansas, Oklahoma is beneath you? We invented football. This is what we do.
Okay, Blake. All right.
Lights. Hello. We invented it. We know how to play football.
Okay. Let me cut you off here. So first of all, did you even take a breath right there? I'm worried. Get some oxygen. It's okay. All right. First of all, I want to thank you.
You first, Bomber. You get to go in on that first.
Blake, just take a deep breath. Give me a second, okay? So first, I appreciate you for coming to our shows. This and Big 12 Mafia, you've been very loyal, and I want you to know that I appreciate that. And your passion, I am that passionate, okay? So I think all that is great. Where I start to lose a little bit is, one, what we do is pretty hard to do. And I've been on Mark Rogers' show a couple times now, and I think you have to realize that you're going to a market that they do Big Ten. That's where it started, right? He's a Big Ten guy.
And I like Mark. I know. Mark. He's real.
I know. I'm just letting you know. It's every show has a bias of some sort. And he's not so much even contributor as is he lets people get on and then they talk. He'll ask questions, but it's pretty much he's just like a moderator. So don't blame the contributor. Don't blame Mark Rogers.
No, okay? Not Mark. Yeah, I like Mark.
All right. So I just want to be very clear because you sounded really angry at Mark. And I respect Mark a lot.
I like Mark a lot. He's very he actually I really respect him more than almost anybody because he literally plays just a level play. He's a very good moderator.
Right,
I just don't.
He is. Yeah.
I like Darrell that comes on his channel and some of the regular. Right. But when you're talking about the Tony Altomores of the world, the Tims of the world, these people, they literally, I can't.
But let me cut you off though. You knew that was going to happen. You knew the minute everything started to turn. Right after Tony was on blast for his social media posts about the Big 12, he lost all his credibility, right? And now people aren't, except for maybe one or two channels, Tony Altomore is a non-entity now. So as Big 12 fans, we just not even need to interface with him. I wouldn't bring his name up anymore. Just ignore him because for all intents and purposes, if Craig Smoke says he doesn't like what's going on with the guy, that's about as general as you can get. So and 365 is like the gold standard. So I'm just saying, don't worry about him. As far as Tim Prangley goes, he's also another contributor. He's a USC guy.
Trash.
They are going to say what they want to say because it's an opinion show. Okay. Don't get so wrapped up about the fact that they are basically ignoring history. They are ignoring history.
What has Brent Yormark really preached? It's all about perception, right?
It is.
I am literally, if anybody in the world knows me, I don't go on YouTube. I don't do this stuff.
Right.
I am like.
But that's why we have this channel. That's why
I had to come on YouTube here in Dallas, Texas.
Well, there's a lot
screaming about some YouTube person like, you will not disrespect the perception of the Big 12 because we would own the West Coast, and it's not even close. If you take the last 20 years of the Big 12 against the West Coast, we would destroy them, and it wouldn't even be close. Go look factually. I don't care if you're K-State, Oklahoma State. It's not even close.
Nobody's arguing with you.
Let's get some factual data here.
We've talked about the factual data, okay? So you're yelling at the wrong guys.
I know.
I'm allowing you to vent. That's cool. That was kind of entertaining.
I think there's people that come to your channel. Your channel's really grown, and I think those stupid people come here and watch, and I'm just letting them know how stupid they are.
But that's why I started these two channels. I started them so that we could control our own narrative.
Oh,
Okay. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. That's why we're here. We're very fair. But yeah, I don't know. Some of the stuff is just emotion, right? And it's passionate.
Oh
Now,
yeah, it's just
Immaculate, did you have a comment?
Sure. First thing, if we're gonna start talking Big Ten, don't judge the whole conference based upon Ohio State. I've got a cat right here that decided to wake up right in front of me. Don't judge the whole conference on Ohio State and Michigan. Number one,
No.
and that's who that is. That's Ohio State and Michigan, folks. 90%, and the rest of us, we don't have much to say over there. I get in every.
All right, I got a question, Immaculate. Not to cut you off. Okay,
No, go ahead.
take out OU and Texas out of the Big 12, which has happened. Now take out Ohio State and Michigan.
Mhm.
What conference is better right now, Big 10 or Big 12? Head to head.
Big 12.
So it's like,
But I think that it's closer than people will get because
it's close. It's like
I think here's my feeling. A lot of people who talk about the Big Ten football, I don't think that they watch a lot of Big Ten football. So, and it is different.
Ohio and Michigan. Yeah.
Well, they watch Ohio State and Michigan, and then I'm talking about like the West.
Hell, I watch Ohio and Michigan.
Right. Everybody does.
Right.
That's why they're worth more money.
But I'm just saying, I watch Iowa, and I know it's to a lot of people it's boring. But I played football too, and I love watching a good defensive game. If there's very few points on the board, that doesn't mean to me that it's a bad game or that it's boring. I can get jacked up with interceptions. I can get jacked up with great defensive play. I can get jacked up with punting. Not really that, but to me that can be great football. But I get it that that's not the most. They want to see a lot of scoring. They want to see big plays. And that is one way in which the Big Ten needs to grow. No doubt about it. And in that regard, many of those schools are behind because we've never really had to adapt. We get big money, big pay, lots of viewerships. In the past, it was always about the Rose Bowl. Most of us didn't care about the national thing because it was always Ohio State dominating, and then you got Michigan and Penn State. So it did become like these big three at the top, and the rest of us were just kind of playing in our own world. And you see people from the outside taking shots on it, and we're just kind of like, okay. But that's going to change now. We're bringing in USC. We're bringing in Oregon. We're bringing in Washington. We're bringing in UCLA. And that's not it.
Not to cut you off here. What do you think about USC?
Well, first off, it is to cut me off, but it's okay. I don't mind. We're having a conversation.
They're going to lose their ass for like 7 years. I think they're going to get
USC?
steamrolled. Yeah, I think USC will get steamrolled in the Big Ten. I think travel will be a fatigue factor. And I think Oregon is still going to out recruit them. They've proven to do that for God knows how long. We obviously know Phil Knight's engine is going to be roaring, getting them into the Big Ten. He's going to be, every major recruit's going to go to Oregon. We know this.
Yeah, I mean,
does USC really think they're going to go? They're probably going to be like fourth place on the west side of the Big Ten. Literally.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but I think that.
I mean,
time will tell.
Yeah, I don't want to tell you that you're wrong because what do I know? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how it's going to be when they come in. I do think that they are going to.
I don't even see them going in there and steamrolling Nebraska with their new coach. I literally almost see Nebraska getting their engines going. If you've noticed through the time of schools leaving from one conference to another, everyone has been almost a failure, right? Mm-hmm. But eventually there's got to be a moment where things start to click and they're accepted. I feel like that's got to be the time moving forward now with Texas A&M. There's got to be a moment where the cream rises to the crop to some degree, right? It's got to be, right? I mean, you can't be a powerhouse and then leave and be horrible for 10 years and not have a moment at some point where you kind of you have that moment, the epiphany, so to speak, where you go up. Nebraska, new coach.
Mm-hmm.
They might be able to handle the West. I would be willing to bet on it with that coach that they're going to get their things to go in the next 2-3 years.
Let me get a point in on that real quick.
Sure.
My views on Nebraska is that what they can now do with NIL and transfer portal is what they have needed for a long time.
I agree.
And when you have a coach like Rule, and you have the facilities that they have, and you have the support that they have, I'm not going to come out here and be like Nebraska is going to be a superpower.
No.
But if they do rise back up to a level of prominence that we expect of them and that their facilities demand.
Oh, I expect 6-7 wins first year by Matt Rule. I mean, that guy's a coach. He'll win.
Possible. Yeah.
It's
but
realistic.
do they beat USC coming in? I don't know. We're going to have such a conflict of style of football that I think on all sides, the newcomers and the old timers in this conference are going to have to hybridize. You're going to have to look at a little bit of what they do. They're going to have to look at what we do, and it's going to change the conference to some degree. How much? I don't know. But the inevitable part is everyone's going to have to grow with this. So,
all right, we got to leave it there. I need to cut this off.
Yeah.
This has been a fun 15 minutes.
Get Blake off of this channel. He's
with
disrespecting
Blake.
Everybody.
I didn't say any of that.
Man.
I love to have you here. I love your opinions. Thanks.
You should definitely come
for
back
being.
on more, man.
Your energy is
Very
what
rare.
the show's about. So
Chat loves you.
Tim is a hoe. Tony Altimore's a hoe.
okay,
You can cut me off
all
like
right,
mid-sentence.
all right,
Tim's
okay.
a
Well,
hoe.
He's going to
Tony
keep going
Altimore-
until you cut him off. Is what
we'll
he's
see
saying.
you later, Blake. Bye. Gosh.
Yeah, that was good.
All right.
Though.
Well,
Appreciate you
hey,
coming on,
Blake. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate you. You've been loyal to the channel, and I appreciate that. Couple comments here from our members. David Hackett, who's one of the first members to join, says, "Guys, is Monday when we see the FSU Board of Trustees meeting posted for them to meet August 15th. They have to post 24 hours if it's going to be a public session. So, what day is that? What day is Tuesday or Monday? Immaculate.
It'd be the 14th.
Yeah,
Is it the 14th? Okay. So, yeah, because today's the 12th. So, yeah, they would have to post it then, David. That's true.
They can post it Sunday, too. They can
true.
post on a
Yeah, it
weekend.
doesn't have to be just 24 hours.
But they're not going to post it. I don't think they're going to pull the trigger.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You know, the fact they've let it sit this long, this just shows that it was saber rattling, I think, to maybe try and get enough people to jump to 8 to dissolve. But, you know, just my thoughts.
Yeah, I think they were trying, honestly, to, you should basically play the whole thing out and see if they could get leverage and other people to jump on the bandwagon. Honestly, I think the whole thing's been a fishing expedition.
I think that they might have actually achieved what they wanted to achieve, which kind of sucks because we wanted a whole lot more out of it. But when we look at the cracks forming within the conference, that may have been the goal, to really bring about a situation where half the conference is looking at the other half, and they're, so
that was the goal.
That
was the goal to put.
And that's
it's a
not
heavy
the
price to pay, though.
Yeah,
it's a heavy price to pay
because
we learned from Garnett and Old, specifically VC Noel Vince, and he said if this was all just a dog and pony show, he is going to be livid. I mean, he was very emotional on Thursday when it started to come out that maybe this wasn't going to happen. He's asking these questions to the air. Why would they do all this if they're only? I mean, he was really upset about it. And he said there's a bunch of FSU people, boosters even, that if this was the plan, they should have let people know so they didn't lose the PR battle.
But unfortunately, you can't give that away out in public, because then also the people that you're trying to maneuver also get that. You know what I mean?
Well, I meant the boosters, the big money people.
Well, yeah.
If big money people are complaining, that's kind of a thing.
Yeah. Who are the big? Like, is it
I don't know.
big
You'd have
money.
to talk.
You know what I
to him.
mean? Like
I'm taking
there's
that
tiers.
third
There's
hand,
the guys who
so.
are at the really top of the boosting.
Yeah,
and
I don't
there's-
know if it's a guy who gives them $5 a month. I have no
Yeah.
idea. He
Yeah.
just told me it was boosters. So, David Hackett, another comment from him because he's a member. Aren't the North Carolina schools and Virginia schools tied together for realignment? We did talk about this a little bit ago, but either one of you want to clarify that so we make sure we're communicating the right thing?
You want that one, Morn? Or you want me to get in on that?
Yeah, we believe North Carolina schools are going to stay together just because of the legislator. The Attorney General for Virginia has said that he wants control over Virginia and Virginia Tech. So I don't think they're going to allow one school to be in a conference that's going to make exceedingly more money than another. So I don't think you're going to get Virginia Tech in the Big 12 and UVA in the Big or the SEC. In an instant like that, either the Big or the SEC is going to have to take Virginia Tech, or the Big 12 is going to have to take Virginia Tech in Virginia.
I do divert a little bit only because I'd like to point out again, I think if the ACC is breaking down like that, that the ACC network will end up in the Big 12. And so numbers I would love to see are how much could that make the Big 12? I think the Big 12 is willing to do what the ACC was not willing to do. I think Yormark is playing ball with ESPN when the ACC would not. The ACC would not go down the same path of what the Big East did. I think that they wanted them to pull some basketball schools into the ACC, and they never did. So when you look at how much they could possibly make off that, I think that brings Big 12 close enough in pay to where if your choice as like, say, Virginia legislature is Virginia Tech in the Big 12, Virginia in the SEC with a difference of, say, $10 to $15 million versus both of them staying in the ACC and making 30 to 40 million less or 30 million less, it's still a plus. Whereas we might think, okay, one looks worse than the other, but they're both better off than the situation they're in now. I think that there could be a situation that brews behind the scenes where one could go to the Big 12. We'll see.
Let me post this really quick. I'm posting the hyperlink if you want to join the show. We had some really good engagement. Appreciate Blake calling in. That was awesome.
Wait a second. I want to argue with Blake. I want to argue with Blake over a few
things. We would have been here
Texas
45
and
minutes.
Oklahoma did not invent football. It was invented in the Northeast. All right.
And we'll do that at a different show.
Place of college football.
It was a tactical decision on my part not to involve you in that. So.
And I didn't know we were allowed to drop F-bombs.
Man,
case,
I'm not anybody's keeper. Yeah, I mean, you go ahead and cuss all you want. You answer to other people, not me. I don't really care. The channel, I've cussed on the channel inadvertently, so try not to, but if it happens, you know. Jason Spangler, KU fan, says for a couple weeks there, I really started to believe that FSU high-level boosters and their leadership really had some significant and relevant power. I was wrong. I don't think you're wrong. I think they do have power, but there's limits, and everything has a cost. And to write a check for $500 million, leveraging your athletic department for 10 to 20 years to pay it back, that's an extreme solution. And so,
realistically speaking, the August 15th date is for them to be into a conference next year.
Right.
That doesn't mean if they're actually doing this and going forward with this, as much as it's lets us down because we wanted this story, we want it now. Just because they don't do it by the 15th, it doesn't mean that they're not working on it. It just means it's not going to be for 2024.
Right.
We can see like the cracks are forming in that conference. So, you know, maybe to them strategically, they're going to take the hit on the chin by not doing it soon and instead maybe looking more towards next year. I don't know.
We got a new member. I'm going to interrupt you. These are pretty big deals.
Hopkins.
Thank you, John. John F. Hopkins. You have a wonderful university. If that's you, I'm just teasing. It's nice to have you here, John. Thank you so much. Newest member. There are member benefits. I'm just waiting to collect enough memberships to get enough people that I think I'm going to do rally towels. Those are fun. You can use them on your car. You can hang them up behind you and be free advertising for me, but you're going to get something, and I'm going to be sending everybody something that is one of the founding members. So I really appreciate that, John, and welcome to the channel. Welcome to the community. I'm introducing you to Moen Sports and Immaculate. They're two of our key contributors, and boy, you're awesome to be here. I really, really appreciate that. That's really cool. I need to come up with a sounder. All these other shows have sounders. I need to come up with something because it is a big event, really. Let's see here. I want to recognize this. Yeah, I said this earlier, Mr. Monkey. So I had a member send this in to me. I want to make sure I get his name right because I said the wrong name, not last time, but I did a few days ago. I said somebody's name. It was absolutely wrong. This is Summit Hawk. He used to have a different name, but he doesn't go by that now. So Summit Hawk sent this to me. And if you guys have stuff, even old stuff that's kicking around in your den or your garage and it's just sitting there and it doesn't have any intrinsic value, just ship it to me. It costs a few dollars to ship it to me, and I'll definitely put it up behind me on the wall. So that's really cool. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Boy, out of nowhere, we're starting to get some really good comments.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to keep up with it.
So Steve Moser, answering Jeremy Callahan, says, the misconception that Texas has been the second most successful team in the Big 12 is wild. People are dumb. Moen, what do you say to that?
Yeah, Texas has as many national championships in the Big 12 as Colorado does.
Obviously, they're a blue blood. They've been around for 100 years. Yeah.
They're blue blood. They're assholes. I mean, I don't like Texas.
They have the most underwhelming helmet in all of college football.
Let's get Moen really going.
Orange, too. It's just an ugly orange.
You don't like the burnt orange?
If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and then sit back for a second because I'm gonna tee something up here for Moen. If you guys got some coffee or a nice beverage, cool beverage, I'm gonna give you a couple seconds to go grab that because you're gonna have 5 minutes of insaneness here in just a second. Everybody ready?
Kick back and enjoy this.
Kick back and enjoy the show. Go for it, Moen.
It's crazy that Notre Dame has equal power to entire football conferences. No shit. CFB needs to quit pandering to Notre Dame. Double no shit. Yeah, and this is nobody's fault but the conferences that have allowed Notre Dame to walk in and do this. The Big East had this issue with Notre Dame. Now the ACC has this issue with Notre Dame. And then to top it all off, you have Notre Dame goes out and plays the good guy. They're good cop. You got Jack Swarbrick on his soapbox saying, poor Stanford, poor Cal. Well, how about you come up with a little bit of that money out of your pocket, Jack? If you had joined the ACC as a full member, you'd have had unanimous votes to add those two schools. If you joined Big Ten as a full member, you'd have the unanimous votes to add those two schools. It's ridiculous that Notre Dame, a team that hasn't won a national championship, Ronald Reagan was president the last time Notre Dame won a national championship. The last time the Gipper was in office is the last time Notre Dame won a national championship. They haven't won a major bowl game since 1994. They predate AOL. You remember AOL? You remember dial-up modems? There were dial-up modems we were using. It was the last time that Notre Dame won a major bowl game. And yet still, everybody is expected to bow down and kiss the feet of Notre Dame. It's bullshit. It's bullshit.
So how about that Ohio State Notre Dame game coming up? That's going to be great.
Hey, I'll be in South Bend. If you see a guy with a Moen jersey, come on. You disagree with that? You can come over here and talk to me because
it's gonna be good stuff.
I'm tired of hearing from Notre Dame fans about how great they were back in the old days with the Four Horsemen or Newt Rockne or a bunch of other people, you know? It's like a bunch of old drunks sitting at the bar going, yeah, I remember. I was at that game in 1982. It was tough, and throwing one back. Notre Dame isn't a blue blood anymore, and they haven't been for a long, long time. And they should not have a special position in college football that entitles them to make decisions that affect all of college football. They shouldn't have a seat on the college football playoff board. They should be required to be a conference member. I don't care what conference you join. You just pick a conference and join it, because every conference would have you. You have to join a conference to get the college football playoff. And I don't think teams in the P5 should schedule them anymore. If the ACC was smart, they would tell Notre Dame to hit the bricks. We're not scheduling you. The Big Ten should do the same. You want to play USC? Oh, well. USC now gets a rivalry with Penn State at the end of the year, who's a real blue blood, who has won something since 1994. Fuck you, Notre Dame.
There we go. There it is. I was like, it's
All right,
building,
there
it's
we
building.
go. Thank you very much, Moen. I appreciate
All
that.
right.
I hope everybody got a piece of that. We don't do that every show, but Moen has an opinion, and I like to hear it. I personally respect Notre Dame, but I'm a BYU fan, so I can't really be a Notre Dame fan. So that's as far as that goes. Did you want to add anything to that, Immaculate?
Well, I'll just say I agree with him about the conference football playoff, the championship football playoff position that they have. It is very strange. I would love to know how that came about.
Right.
I tend to think they were involved in that because of their TV value, adding value to the ESPN deal for that. 2026, though, that may change. We will see how that goes. We'll see what how they're perceived for that. In terms of their scheduling, that's going to happen one way or another as these schedules go from 8 and 9 to 9 and 10. It's going to be harder and harder for Notre Dame to fill their schedule up because they got to fill it out for the entire year.
Yep.
They're going to be wanting the ACC to put all 6 of those games at the back of the schedule because that's going to be where it's hardest for them to fill. And we'll see if the ACC is willing to do that. But I do believe they're going to be pressured at some point in time. I've actually been talking with a podcaster guy from Notre Dame.
Yeah, are we going to try to get that put together?
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything, but I was like, this is the moment to bring it up because I would.
Right.
He would even love to talk with Mo sometime about it. That would be a great chat. But you might be surprised about how much of that he agrees with you on. I'm not going to speak for him in terms of what we've talked about, but you might be surprised at how some of the perspectives out there are very similar from their point in terms of the scheduling and how worried about that and where eventually they think they're going to land. So
we need to get that set up, Immaculate. We need to get that scheduled.
Yeah, I think that could be done this week. I just don't know. You have a pretty busy schedule yourself.
I do. We need to look at my calendar again. Remind me, and we'll do that. Okay.
Yep.
All right. We have a super chat here from DW2CB. I'm not sure if I recognize your handle, but welcome to the channel. And if you're here for the first time, anybody watching, please subscribe. Turn on your notifications. That's one thing that people forget to do. If you don't turn on your notifications, you won't know when my shows are coming out. The Holy Rivals and Big 12 Mafia both cover college football. This one, we try to focus on news of the day and then Utah, BYU, and the Holy War. But since we're in the off season, really the only thing to talk about today that was newsworthy in the Holy War was that Cam Rising, I don't think I'm breaking news here, there's a 50-50 chance may not start the season opening game. We're getting different stories about how well his surgery recoveries happened. But right now it's been said they're getting ready for their third string quarterback. So yeah, that's kind of a big deal. His super chat says Moen splashing facts like a faucet. Well, isn't that the truth?
Well, let's talk about that because Notre Dame's TV value. How do you have TV value when you ain't won nothing? You ain't won nothing. Ohio State has TV value because we've won 2 natties since the last time you won one. We've won multiple Rose Bowls. We've won playoff games. We've been in the national championship. Y'all ain't done jack since 1994, and you think you have value.
Well, to go on that, their value for the TV as an independent is going to be going down as they are less and less capable of maintaining the same strength of schedule as an independent. As we see now, they're having to put Tennessee State on. They never did FCS. They're having to go into the FCS ranks now. That's going to lower it. USC going into the Big Ten. How much are they going to want to have Notre Dame on their OOC schedule now? We'll see. But I mean, they're already playing in that zone now. They're going to be playing. They might be looking at a Michigan and Ohio State, Penn State, as these are their new rivals. How much is the USC of the future going to be looking at Notre Dame as this is a game that we need? Because now they're going to have Eastern viewership. Part of that was coming out here, being seen, being looked at, having ESPN, everyone talk about you. They're not going to need that as much. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on Notre Dame. And the numbers that they're looking at for a TV contract, I just do not see that happening.
Well, at the end of the day, it's cashing checks. And if they can still demand the DMA wherever the games are broadcast that people will watch, they're going to get preferential treatment. The only way that breaks is if the college football playoff takes away any advantage that they have to get into the playoff. Because as an independent, they can play a really weak schedule and still come in as a conference winner. And that's whack, right? That's broken. So
yeah, they don't have to play a conference championship game.
No, they don't have to do
Even
any of
the
those extra
G5 teams that they're put in the same category as G5 teams. Those G5 teams have to play in conference championship games.
Right.
Notre Dame doesn't have to do it. They get to play one game less and get to be traded the same as that G5. That is ridiculous.
Welcome to the channel and the show, Trent Brown. My brother's name is Trent Brown. We have spoken. This is not my brother, but I appreciate you being here on the show, Trent. It's good to see you. He says Notre Dame doing less with more. I think that has been that way for a while.
Unless it comes to paying for an OC. If you want to pay for an offensive coordinator, they can't find money for that.
See if I can find this comment. John Hopkins posted a thing, I think, after I welcomed him in, and I can't find his super chat. Basically, I'll just read it. He says, "Thanks for the welcome. Go Cougas." He says Couga, and let's not method Satan for Austin. What the hell does that mean, John? Method Satan for Austin? I don't know.
Is he talking about Texas?
He is.
Yeah.
Do you know what that means?
No, not the whole thing. I'm just.
Yeah, I don't understand what
that's the only connection I'm making. Sorry,
okay,
buddy.
No, you're fine. No, you didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah,
it's fine. Here's another one. He says in 2020, Notre Dame. Sorry, this is DeReal MVP. Says Notre Dame was at the mercy of everyone else because Notre Dame could have been frozen out of if the ACC didn't let them play for 1 year.
Yeah.
And
how did Notre Dame pay them back?
They didn't, and they won't.
They didn't, and they won't because they're Notre Dame.
Yeah, they don't have to. Let's see here. God, these really great comments, everybody. Tony Lashin says Monavision. It's Moen Vision, but that's okay. Monavision. Minnesota won a natty in 1904. That's blue blood material there. That's what I told Greg.
That all starts. That's a Greg Pflugar.
I know it is. That's why I joked about it.
Pronounce people's names, so I became Monavision.
I was teasing.
Just like Wild Udis will do.
Yeah, Oot. Well, you know who else says that? Every once in a while, Immaculate says that too.
Yeah, will
do. I? Will do.
Yeah, every once in a while you slip into it. Here's another comment from John, and again, he's one of the few members that's in the channel right now, which is why I'm grabbing him. He says, TU comes with a lot of baggage. Well, that's obvious.
I think he means UT.
Oh, well,
University
either way,
of Texas
University of Texas, they do both. The answer is yes to both. Let's see here. Is this one? Like I said, Brock Purdy was third string until his number was called. So don't start shoveling dirt on the Utes season just yet.
Yeah, same's true of Cardale Jones. Went and won a national championship at Ohio State.
There's no doubt about it.
Third string to start the season.
Kansas has won as many, Mr. Monkey. Kansas has won the same number of national championships 21st century as Notre Dame. Everybody has, pretty much. Trent, another comment here, says, I think Utah will be fine and should sit rising until conference play. No way he's close to 100%. Don't gamble on his future playing a less than average Florida team. It's the Baylor game that everybody needs to look at. But thank you, Trent. I appreciate your comment. Gary Chadwick, a Ute. Welcome to the channel, Gary. I've seen you before. Thanks for being here. He's saying hi to Mr. Monkey, and that's kind of what we do around here. We engage with each other. Let's see here. Tony Lawson, if Big 10, SEC, and Big 12 teams continue to play Notre Dame, they will be able to stay independent.
Absolutely.
How do you stop that? How do you stop feeding the beast?
From a conference level, the conference puts
Mandates
the issue out there, mandates it. We're not playing Notre Dame.
Okay. Has that ever
Join
happened?
a conference.
I've never heard of that happening.
It happened in 1926, remember? Because that's what Notre Dame fans want to keep bringing up. Fielding Yost.
Oh, you Fielding Yost thing.
Yeah. The Fielding Yost thing from 1990.
You told me about that. Yeah, I didn't know about that. Okay. AF Blue 82 says, if the ACC dissolves, does that hurt Notre Dame's chances to stay independent? I would say yes.
Yes.
It kills their chances.
Eliminates.
Yep.
Yeah, eliminates it entirely.
There's no one else that'll
not
do
enough
that.
games. Not enough games to stay relevant. Yeah. Absolutely.
No one else is going to give them that deal. I think ACC thought that by giving them that deal, they would eventually come in and join. And I think we're seeing that's not going to happen.
I think a lot of this comes to, like, everybody suspected about their vote. There was rumors for years, whether it was a full vote or a half vote. Now that all that's been exposed and everybody knows how bald-faced they are in the middle with the control, I think they're losing the PR battle right now. Notre Dame is.
Well, so is the ACC. I mean, they went way too far in luring Notre Dame into this deal.
Well, they gave them the keys to the kingdom. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because everyone's saying, like, blaming Notre Dame for that. No, blame the ACC. They should have never gave that. I don't blame Notre Dame for getting more than what they should have got. I blame those that gave them that. So,
is that how you spell faint? No, I don't know. Another comment for Moen. AMAC says it's really hard to understand all the benefits that are given to Notre Dame. It's just crazy. How the hell did this insanity start?
Well, that's easy. Notre Dame has a national fan base because they are tied to the Roman Catholic Church here in America, which has heavy population pockets in cities like Boston, New York, Chicago. So they get you those markets, which are valuable markets. It's not quite that way anymore. If you actually look at Notre Dame's viewership over the last 5 years, it's trending down.
It is. Yes, they are losing.
Trending down. So they're not hitting that. And part of the reason it's trending down is because they're not winning.
Right.
They haven't won anything.
I think we're closer to that day than people think. I don't think NBC wants that single team contract anymore. When you look at, if they get Notre Dame into the Big Ten, they split the cost of paying them between NBC, CBS, and Fox. Instead of paying them 60 to 70 million a year as Notre Dame wants, if Notre Dame comes into the Big Ten and gets paid 60 to 70 million a year, that cost is over 3 networks. And yeah, they may not get to pick all of the Notre Dame games, but that just means, okay, well, the Ohio State game is open, or the Michigan game is open, or the Penn State game is open, or the USC game is open. So they are not worth what they think they are worth because they're asking a single network to pay that entire cost to them. Whereas in the Big Ten, 3 different networks would share that cost. So it's just, in my opinion, they've done the big ask. We heard the same with the Pac. They asked for $50 million and the networks walked away. I think that NBC is doing the same thing.
So the initial number that came out, and I'm going to read this comment about Tony just put. He says if Notre Dame can get 50 million, I was going to say the original number that was broadcast that they asked for originally was $75 million.
Yep.
And then I heard it was lowered to 60. Now Tony's proffering 50 million for that same eight games at home or whatever, however many games a year.
And that's still more than twice what they're getting paid now in the contract. So that's
right.
still more than
it's still
it
is, and that would mean they'd be making more than $60 million a year. But do we even think that NBC is going to give them 50? The NBC, they want to be in on so many of these other things. UFC's coming up. The NBA, I don't think they're bidding on the NBA, but there are the other properties that are going to come available. Does NBC have the money?
Like if you look at their conference or the schedule this year, NBC is having to pay for Tennessee State. They're having to pay for Central Michigan. They're having to pay for Wake Forest. Yeah. You want the Pitt game, you could argue, is where the line starts, where this is a decent game because that matters to the Notre Dame faithful. But as Moen says, that number is getting smaller. So is that below the line of value? From there, your Navy game, traditional game, but how many people really care about that anymore besides Notre Dame fans and military folks? But you get into it, and your big games are Ohio State and USC, which are both Big Ten teams now. Yeah. So their ability to stay independent, in my opinion, is coming to a quick close, and I don't think NBC is going to sign them again.
Mr. Monkey says, Moen Vision and Immaculate, thanks for not asking for my opinion. That's cute. I'm only the host of the show, Monkey.
I know she'd pick BYU.
Right.
My riser was BYU. It's my show.
I picked Oregon State.
I was going to say I was going to repeat. It was Oregon State.
Yep.
And we talked about it, and you were late and didn't hear it, evidently. But it was Oregon State.
Well, but you're saying who ends up in the playoffs? You thinking that Oregon State can make the playoffs?
Okay, I'm not predicting it. I'm saying
I don't think. No. I'm sorry. We were talking about rising teams. We weren't talking about
but
somebody getting to the playoffs.
Out of the top, someone outside the top 15 who ends up in the playoff.
I don't think that happens.
I'm saying there's so few choices in that I'm going with Oregon State because I think if Oregon State beats Washington, if they win out against Oregon, they get into the Pac championship game against USC. If they win that one, they're in. So I do think that they have the lineup to do it. But, I mean, you could probably say any team and just throw out a guess. That's just what I'm saying is I think they have the drive to do it as much as anyone else. So we'll see.
I'm going to post the link one more time. If you want to join the show, in the comments section, I just posted the hyperlink. Click it with your mouse or on your phone. Just click it with your finger. It'll open up a client. And nothing to install. Just activate your mic and camera and join us. We're going to go a little bit longer.
I'll say Kansas State in this.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good pick. That's a good pick.
Because I think the Big 12 is wide open.
Yeah, I think that is a good pick.
It could be a team that goes on a run like that. Maybe drops a game, but wins their conference championship and gets in.
I totally agree.
Like TCU did last year. So
that is a sleeper.
It's a good pick.
If there is a sleeper, I think it comes out of the Big 12.
Yeah. They got that conference is the most wide open.
Let's see here. Nathan Campbell says, does anybody think Notre Dame could end in the Big 12 because of BYU, Utah, Baylor, and TCU? Let me ask you this. If they threw the bag at him, they offered him $75 million, would they go to the Big 12?
No, they wouldn't go anywhere. If they can maintain independence, they're going to maintain independence.
I think he meant it would be contingent on joining the Big 12. To get the bag, you'd have to join the Big 12 and play scheduling alliance instead of the ACC, essentially.
It's a reasonable point. Because we have talked about the triumvirate there of BYU, TCU, and Baylor.
Right. It's a great
Notre Dame and you put it in there. Do I think that's still the most likely ending point? No. Do I think that there's a possibility of it? Yeah. Notre Dame is kind of known for oh, you think you're going to force us to do this? Well, we're going to do that. That's what happened with the ACC. Oh, you
Right.
think you're going to force us in Big Ten? We'll watch this. So in that regard, could that come about? Possibly. I mean, it's not a horrible idea. It's not, out of the ballpark.
Steve, how are you?
How you doing, guys?
I'm doing
Hey,
good.
Steve.
It's nice to put a face with the messages we've been trading.
Yeah. This is a face made for radio, gentlemen.
Oh, it doesn't matter. So, what's going on?
Just enjoy the show. What you guys offer to college football. I couldn't agree with Moen more about Notre Dame. I live in Northwest Ohio. We have our share of Michigan fans. We have our share of Ohio State fans. We have our share of, believe it or not, Notre Dame fans. We're not that far from South Bend, and it's just constantly with the Notre Dame fans. They live in the past, and it's time to step up in the future. And how they ended up with so much power in college football is just it's just unbelievable. It's just crazy. And I hope by 2026 they get stripped of that. I'd like your opinions there.
I think that's a distinct possibility. If they make it, when they tear the whole thing apart and rebuild it, like we've spoken about the last several weeks, if that ends up actually happening, I think Notre Dame might be inclined to join the conference at that point. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think the easiest way to strip them of that power is to just use, just to allow things to play out as it's going. They're going to end up in a conference, and so they won't have that vote anymore because their voice will go through the conference then, as everyone else's. I mean, that's maybe not the answer people want to hear. People want to hear that, yeah, let's go and take it from them. But I just don't see the folks in the NCAA all coming together and doing that. Especially because some of the people who aren't in the FBS, it's kind of their way to, thumb the nose, so to speak, at the people up in the FBS. So I don't think that they'd vote for it. They say, oh, that pisses you off. Okay, well, we're going to support them because that's all NCAA voted, who's in like the autonomy, and then the CFP, as far as kicking them out, we'll see. I just think that the best way to do it is to get them into a conference, and that'll happen here eventually soon.
Moen?
Yeah, I always equate it to a boa constrictor. You ever see a boa constrictor eat its prey? It's just slowly keeps turning until it can suffocate its prey. And that's what's going to happen with Notre Dame, because they're not just going to willingly go. So it's going to have to be a situation like we said with the conference saying, hey, don't schedule Notre Dame.
Right.
The ACC saying, hey, we're not going to make these benefits for you anymore unless you become a legitimate member of the conference. So it's just going to take time. But, yeah, I think by 2026, 2027, 2028, you're really going to start seeing these cracks in the ACC form, bigger than they are now. And once the ACC disappears, Notre Dame doesn't have any place to go. They have to pick one of the three remaining conferences.
So, Steve, I have a question for you.
Sure.
So, if I have it right, you're a Cincinnati fan, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you obviously are coming from an AAC conference that has found itself very adaptable, over the years, teams in, teams out, and constantly looking forward. Do you think there is any chance that they actually do follow through, pick up SMU, Cal, and Stanford?
I don't put anything past Oresco. Truthfully, guys, when Cincinnati and UCF and Houston left, I was really interested to see, what he was going to do, what his moves were. I don't think the Charlotte move or the Rice move moves the needle. I think UTSA moves the needle. I think UAB somewhat moves the needle, although, they're always fighting the stigma of Alabama and Auburn being there with them. Do I think Oresco, he knows enough people in the media business. I'm sure he's went to people, I won't say in high places, but people that know some things in the media business and says, "Hey, what do you got for us if we get him?" So, I'm um, kind of thinking it goes that way. The Mountain West with the exit fee,
Right.
and really, guys, when it comes right down to it, what's the choices that Stanford has more choices than the other three, but
Right.
what's their choices after this season? You know what I'm saying? I mean, somebody throws them a lifeline to give them a schedule, a league, a conference schedule to play. My goodness, you would think. I don't know. I'm baffled by it a bit. I think Oresco's looking at it as saying, Cincinnati lived on a UCF, Houston, all of them lived on a man. If we make 10 million a year, we've done well. I
Right.
think Oresco would really look at something and go, hey, I'm bringing these 4 West Coast teams in, ESPN, ABC, um, throw some more money at us. And I think that's the way Oresco would look at it. Where they're going to end up, I don't know. Um, the young lady in the Mountain West,
Alvarez.
Yeah, she's become a player in a very short time.
She has.
Um,
Yeah, she's
I
done
think the
good
way
moves.
I think the way she handled the whole San Diego State thing,
Yep.
kind of shows that lady knows her business. So, is there a merger? Gosh, I don't know. Oliver Luck, he if anybody can figure out, he may be able to do it. I mean, my goodness, he worked for Vince McMahon. That couldn't have been fun. As
That's
intelligent
funny.
as Mr. Luck is, and
Hey, hey, Steve,
yeah,
how much of a problem for the Mountain West do you think Hawaii is?
big.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's why I say
Big.
I can't see a merger for them because of that. It's
I
so
was
far away. People don't realize just how
yeah,
far away that is.
I was having a conversation with a few of my friends who are big college football fans, and I said, if there's ever going to be an independent in college football after Notre Dame goes to a conference, it's got to be Hawaii. And what do they do? I mean, sure, guys. I mean, programs like to fly out there, but what's Hawaii going to do? They're literally stuck on an island.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's
I mean,
And if you're looking to go farther east and to connect with some stuff in the east, asking those eastern schools to deal with that. I mean,
yeah,
like I did a real quick look. Boise State is actually closer to fly to Atlanta than it is to Hawaii.
sure.
Now you start to look
Yes.
even farther east than that, and it's just so ridiculous.
It is
Yeah,
really.
yeah. Guys, I do a lot of things on my own because I'm old, retired, and don't have a life. And other than I play golf and work at a golf course in the clubhouse a couple days a week,
There you
so
go.
I get free golf all
I
summer.
love that. That's great.
But
That sounds like a good plan.
Good
but
retirement plan.
but it's I do a lot of things that you guys do, and I came up with this. What do I want to call it? If the ACC goes down the tubes and they're all relegated to different conferences, and then I'm thinking, okay, if everybody decides, which I know Moan and Immaculate see it differently. If everybody decides to stop at 20, that's where my cutoff point was. And I'm thinking, do we need another A4, another conference to make it an A4? So then I'm looking at who's left, who I think would be left out of the ACC, and then obviously the 4 PAC schools, and then you go to group of 5,
Right.
and I think you could make a case where, and this is not going to make a lot of Pack fans happy, but I think you could make a case that you get the Pac-4, you get what's left over out of the ACC, you get some Mountain West and AAC schools. I think you could make a case for it being worth 17 to 20 million in today's market, or in the market maybe in 2026, maybe not today's the way it's gone. But I don't. It's just I've never lived through any of this in my life, and I'm, as you guys can tell, I'm a lot older than you guys, and I'm basically sitting around and going, did that just happen?
Right.
I can't believe that just happened. You know, and I'm not that I'm taken aback by it, but boy, you just wonder what's going to happen with these 4-pack schools.
Realignment isn't new, but consolidation is, and that's kind of why I use the different terminology, because none of us have seen anything like this. Most
No.
people couldn't even foresee what happened to the Pack. Bob Thompson, who was just on with us, he didn't see it coming. But he had a good idea on how much they were worth and figured they're going to be smart enough to do this, and then they weren't. So that's why he was caught off guard, and so it's all brand new territory right now, and it's exciting, but at the same time, I try to be mindful of all the people who are getting the bad end of it, because it's rough for some.
Now remember, Immaculate, you're talking to a Cincinnati fan who in the Big East had some pretty good success. Okay, went to 2 BCS bowls, was never down at the bottom of the Big East. So when the Big East starts to implode, we watch Rutgers go to the Big Ten, and we watch West Virginia go to the Big 12, and then we sit around and we watch Louisville and Pitt go to the ACC, and then the dagger to the Cincinnati fans was when Syracuse and Boston College went to the ACC, and there sat Cincinnati. So Cincinnati fans don't have a lot of sympathy for teams getting left out.
I bet.
They just don't. And, you know, I feel badly for them because I know, and nothing against the AAC. I think Mike Oresco probably did as good a job with them as he could have done, and is still doing a good enough job, although I don't like the Rice and Charlotte. I think he could have found 2 better football programs than that.
I'm really interested. Can I interrupt you really quick? Because
Sure.
I was surprised at the time, and this was 2 years ago. I believe the exit penalty was $17 million from the Mountain West. I was really surprised he didn't extremely push hard for Boise State, San Diego State, Colorado State, maybe even UNLV. Because if they were in the AAC right now, I think they would be worth like $12 to $15 million.
Oh yeah, I think times were a little different back there, Bomber. Maybe even a couple years ago, times maybe a little different. But I was really surprised that he didn't look west, because the teams you just named, they had to have added value to the ACC. They had to have, you know. So that's a great point.
I think. You know, at that point in time, when you're still looking at it, though, you're talking about travel costs, right? And
sure you are.
And at the amount of money that they're making, that actually matters a little bit more. But now that they're at this position, that's solidified. If they go west now, they can force the renegotiation clause, and so I do think that the AAC is where it's going to end up being. Why leave there? Go pay tens of millions of dollars to join another conference that doesn't have a TV deal, that you're not sure what you're going to get once you're there. And then the Big 4 schools who are still there, who had anchored that down, the moment they get any other kind of invite out of there to go up,
heartbeat.
They're gone, and then now you're stuck with half the schools that you were with before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a terrible plan for those schools. So I think that we're going to see it coming.
Well, you know, and you see a team like UTSA in San Antonio. I mean, goodness, guys, they got nowhere to go but up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, USF is the same way.
USF exactly.
is the same boat. Yeah.
I remember when USF was very competitive. I do. I mean, they were a very competitive program. They played at Raymond James Stadium. And guys, let's face it now, for USF, I live 6 months of the year in Ohio. I live 6 months out of the year in Florida.
Nice.
I live kind of in between Orlando and Tampa. So
Okay.
I talk to people down there. And Tampa is a pro sports town.
Mm-hmm.
The Buccaneers, the Lightning, you know, and the Rays.
And a lot of people are from other areas of the country, so
Absolutely.
they don't take up the local stuff as much. We get the same thing here in
Absolutely.
Arizona and Phoenix.
Yeah. And it's just that's part of the thing USF is up against in a way. They got a great enrollment, got a wonderful campus. A lot of kids like to go to Florida to college. But UCF beat them to the punch the last 10 years, not only on the field, but off the field. And UCF, the only thing they're fighting, and they're not really fighting them, is the Magic, because UCF's season crosses over with the Magic a little bit, but not a lot. But USF definitely, and that's the word I get from people when I'm in Florida and talking about USF, is what kind of they're up against in Tampa.
Well, at the end of the day, I think what we just need to keep in mind, we need to keep, as Greg says, heads on a swivel and just be very adept at change, because change is coming still. I don't think the the Big 12 stops at 16. It might not be this year, but I think by 2026, I got to believe the ACC blows up in 3 years.
Well, it's going to be interesting, because I'm kind of old school when it comes to this, and part of my job, part of my professional, not part of all my professional career, I negotiated big contracts with some pretty good sized companies.
Right.
And that's why the PAC deal was just bonkers to me. Every time I talked to Greg on the phone, I was like, I have no idea what's going on here, but I guess I wasn't alone there. Now, with that being said, man, Florida State, you're going to have some egg on your face if you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to lose some credibility, boys.
Yep.
And let's don't forget, wasn't it just a couple years ago Jacksonville State went into Doak Campbell and whooped them?
Yeah, they've had challenges the last few years.
You guys are kind of been on the downswing up until Norvell turned them around last year, because the Willie Taggart thing didn't work out so great. There's some things that haven't worked out great at Florida State, and now you do this.
Yeah.
And you know what? Hey, there's all three conferences that exist would take Florida State in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
They just would.
Yep.
That's a no-brainer, guys.
Where
But you know
Tallahassee
what?
is located is just
Oh,
if the Big Ten wants to raid the entire Southeast Conference's heart.
that panhandle of Florida. Now you're telling me the Big Ten or the Big 12 wouldn't like to plant a flag there?
Big Ten would take it in a heartbeat.
And Moen has always said that, right? That would be part of the growth plan. But the problem is, his understanding is the Big Ten's taking a step back. They're saying not right now.
Yeah.
So that means they lost all their leverage with ESPN. And I don't think ESPN, if they can get the same ratings, regardless of the conference they're in, they have no incentive to move them.
Yeah. And guys, I'll get off of here because I'm taking up a lot of you guys' time, obviously.
Oh, no, this is great. I appreciate you calling in, Steve.
One question I have and you guys have spoke on it, but this back to me and Moen's old buddies, Notre Dame.
It always comes back around to Notre Dame.
It does. Why does that, Mac? I mean, because they've been so enabled for a million years.
Yes.
Okay, but this NBC thing, to me, which where the economy is, I think NBC is going to love that Big Ten game. I had a short chat with Immaculate several weeks ago about Notre Dame and their viewership. So I went to sports media resource or something that gives the Nielsen's ratings basically, and Notre Dame does okay when they play a Marshall, or they do okay when they play whoever, but they spike when they play Ohio State, when they play Michigan, when they play USC. Okay, so does everybody else, basically. But you're Notre Dame. How much of that are you carrying? I hate to break the news to you guys. Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, USC are carrying your butts right now when it comes to television. They are.
Right.
They
Of
flat
course.
out are. So that's not lost on NBC. Okay.
I was a senior in high school when Lou Holtz won that game.
Yeah.
And they were good in the 80s, right? I
Sure.
mean, late
Oh, yeah.
late 80s, early 90s.
Late 80s.
They were very good. They just couldn't win the big game. They lost to a Florida State, lose to a Miami, lose to an Ohio State or a Michigan or even a Purdue, and they just couldn't close the deal. We're not saying they're not a good program.
No.
The
No.
contention is though they have an outsized amount of control for the entire football landscape, and that's the piece that needs to be rectified. I'm surprised everybody hasn't already banded together to basically say we want our vote back. You are not a conference.
Right. Well, I'll give you guys a quick story. I think you'll get a kick out of it, and Moen will probably get a kick out of it, because Moen was talking about the old guys sitting at the bar saying how great they were. Well, I'm an old guy, and I like to sit at a bar once in a while. So I'm sitting in between. One of my friends is a Notre Dame fan. One of my friends is an Ohio State fan. Okay, so I'm sitting in between them, and I'm letting them argue back and forth. And I got saliva all over both cheeks because they start yelling at each other. But anyhow, the Notre Dame fan. Now, Moen, when Ohio State beat them in a bowl several years ago, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, whenever it was. And then
I believe it was, you're talking about when Brady Quinn was the quarterback.
Yeah. And then they played in the regular season maybe 2 or 3 years before that, Moen, when they renewed their. Okay. So anyhow, we're sitting there, and the Notre Dame well, he's my age, but he was talking about how Notre Dame, and my Ohio State buddy got enough of it. He goes, listen, we went out to South Bend and kicked your ass. He says, we played in a bowl game, whatever bowl it was, Fiesta Bowl, I don't remember which bowl. He said, then we kicked your ass there. Yeah, he said, then we kicked your ass there. And this is before they had scheduled the game. The game's coming up. And my Ohio State buddy looked at him and he goes, all right, let's just meet in Muncie, Indiana, and we'll play in a damn cornfield, and we'll kick your ass there. And the Notre Dame guy looked at him and he goes, I don't think we want to play you guys anymore.
No
matter where.
I think the last time Notre Dame beat Ohio State was 1936.
Yeah.
So,
but But quickly back to the NBC thing, guys. If I was Notre Dame, I'd be a little nervous. And we know who Notre Dame hired for their AD, right? That's not lost on everybody. That wasn't by a mistake that they did that. But still, I'm the guy who thinks Notre Dame's going to be lucky to get 40 to 50, and I might be way off. I think they're lucky. I think NBC's going to say, "Whoa, wait a minute! Like I told you, we got this we got this Big Ten gig." The thing that puzzles me, and this is what I really want your three opinions on, is I'm sitting back and I'm looking at everybody who could carry the pack, okay? And I'm sitting there and I'm going, geez, Warner Discovery, they've got Major League Baseball, NHL hockey, and the NBA. And I'm gone, these guys, I'm old enough to remember when they did college football, okay, when TBS did college football. And I'm going, these guys got to come in somewhere. So I'm starting to dig and do some research. They probably have as many financial problems as any media company right now in the United States. And I just wonder if they'll ever come in, because you guys are saying, hey, Big Ten might need a new media partner,
Right.
Big 12 might. I wonder if Warner Discovery ever comes back to college football.
I say
This
why
is
not? Yeah.
this is the thing I don't understand. If the NBC, when is the actual contract end? Is it 26, 25?
I think 25.
Okay, so
25.
if
Yeah, I think.
you're Amazon, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you just bought the NFL,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got NFL wall to wall. You can do whatever you want with it on YouTube, right? And at the end of the day, why don't you buy the whole Notre Dame package? Buy all 10, 12 games. And then you get to keep your autonomous vote.
And you're saying Amazon, Bomber?
Yeah.
And what, sublease it or no?
No, just put it on. Just put it on Amazon.
completely streaming.
Yeah.
Oh.
Why doesn't
That-
YouTube
that-
do that? I don't understand.
That thought never crossed my mind.
Think about it. If they bought all the games, including the visitor games, the ones that are road
Yeah.
games, if you bought the rights to every game that they ever book, anybody that they pair up with will get exactly the same money too.
Sure.
So that they could lock in always those out of conference games, or the games that they're not a conference. People will want to play them because they can make them money games. They could make a visiting. I mean, if BYU could play Notre Dame and get $7 million for it, who cares who has the rights?
You're right. You're right.
People will watch those games.
I'm not quite sure about Amazon.
When you brought that up, Bomber. I'm sorry, Macklin. I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt.
you're
When
fine.
you brought up Amazon, that's why I said they're not going to sublease them to a digital.
Because
Not in my idea. Not to say that
Okay.
that's anything.
Right.
NBC has Peacock, and they're already putting a lot on between Notre Dame and the Big Ten. They're putting a lot of games on Peacock. They're feeling that out. CBS has Paramount. I don't know if Fox has any plans to go into anything, but there's just so much streaming that is connected with their already partners that Amazon could happen, but it just kind of seems like some of their current partners would have a problem with that. So,
It was just an idea that I've
no,
had
it's a
kicking
good
around.
one.
No,
I mean,
it's a great. It's
Amazon
it's
is
an idea.
always in the mix. They're good.
Yeah, and it's
But
an idea that never crossed my mind.
I like Amazon for the
Right.
Big 12.
I
I
like
do
it for
too.
the Big Ten. I
That's
like it
what
for
I
the
do.
Big Ten. I think with the new teams that you've added on in Oregon and Washington, and I think you're going to add 2 more teams from the West Coast eventually, you can set that up as the number 4 team. Amazon
Right.
gets the number 4 game of the week. It's on a Friday night. It's going to feature mostly the West Coast teams. You don't have that after dark slot. The addition to that is you get Amazon to act as a content producer for you.
Exactly.
We know originally in the original deal that they wanted to produce a behind the scenes inside the NFL training camp kind of show with the Big Ten for that package that Amazon was bidding on. So it would be a Big Ten game of the week plus that. The issues with Warner Discovery is Warner Discovery still has a lot of money they got to cut.
They do.
Yeah, the guy who took it over, and I'm a stockbroker, fair disclosure, I own stock in that company. He took it over on the promise that he was going to cut $3 trillion total.
Wow.
Or $3 billion total. It was he was going to make massive cuts.
Well,
And
he
what
has.
you've seen
Owen.
them do, yeah, and he has. He has. He shelved things, tax write-offs, and basically what we have now is they pushed their two different streaming packages together. Max is just a combination of their Discovery Plus and what HBO Max was. So now if you get on that platform, half of it is junk reality crap that Discovery puts out.
Yeah.
But if you look at the way they did the menu bar, I think it actually has a spot reserved for sports.
It does, because they have a package with AEW wrestling.
That's exactly right.
As well as Major League Baseball is going to be on there in some capacity.
Well, they carry, I mean, TBS carries one Major League Baseball game a week.
Yeah.
What do they carry? A couple hockey games a week and one NBA game a week? Something like that. I'd have to really look into it. But it's are they in such financial straits at this moment that they're just not going to even look at college football?
I don't think they will until they get those costs trimmed.
Yep.
Once they get those costs trimmed, then they'll start looking into making expenditures. But the other interesting thing is the scuttlebutt around Warner Discovery has been for a long time. They're trying to make these cuts to eventually sell out to NBC Universal.
Yep.
And then you would have a combined Universal Warner Brothers Discovery.
Wow,
channel.
that would be a monster.
That would be enormous.
Holy
that would be
cow.
enormous. You know,
the FCC would stop that, wouldn't they? Isn't that too much power in one people's hands?
Well, you got to look at what Disney's done, though.
That's
allow
true.
I
Disney,
know. Because with Disney, they've got basically the only thing Disney didn't take from their Fox acquisition was the Fox local affiliates and Fox News and Fox Sports. I think they ended up taking FX, FXX.
They
Fox
did. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
They're on Hulu.
So, I mean,
they're on Hulu.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can't say that Disney can do that and then say NBC Universal couldn't.
No, I get it. No, I was just opening. It was an open-ended question. We got to start wrapping up. Steve being on here. Steve, thanks so much for joining.
Hey,
I wanted to read this out before you took off. This is a comment from Mike Harris. He says, "You guys are performing an amazing service. I like the rivalry, but not the hate, which is what sometimes is all too real. Love the way you guys tamp it down. I'd love to become a Utah fan again this year. If we can sell you into becoming a new fan, come back to your school. I don't care which school it is, but we appreciate those. And we appreciate you, Steve. Thank you."
I can leave Steve with one thing before you go.
Sure.
Why would Notre Dame deserve a more than a 2 times increase in their pay from NBC if their ratings have gone down and their matchups have gone down in quality? So for anyone who thinks that it's a shoe-in, just remember, the numbers don't lie. And
and just like those numbers I sent to you that day, Immaculate, you probably don't remember them that
I remember
well.
our talk. I can go back and look at the numbers again, but I remember our talk.
That's why I'm saying the 40 million, which is more than double what they're getting now. If NBC, I don't know. You know, I'm sitting around looking at this and going, dude, let me ask you guys this, and then I'll get out of here.
Yeah, go ahead. Because I know Bomber wants to get going. We're well over 3 hours here, but we can always pick this one up again another day if you call back in too. So
would Fox, CBS, and NBC all get together, and Fox and CBS tell NBC, "Hey, you lowball the hell out of them," because then we all three get a piece of the pie.
Right.
Yeah, well,
collusion.
Like I said earlier, NBC could pay them the full amount to have a full deal with them, or they can just wait till they join the Big Ten and then split the cost with CBS and Fox.
Yep. Okay, guys, appreciate the conversations. I'll get off of here. Listen to this.
Okay.
Listen to this, Mullen. No Big 12 expansion. Now, I'm a Cincinnati fan. No Big 12 expansion without Louisville.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
All right,
go
guys.
Bearcats.
Put it on the wall.
I'm getting out of here, guys.
All right,
Thanks.
Come back again,
Steve.
Steve.
Thanks for
Appreciate
calling.
you.
Yep.
Yeah, Steve's great to interact with on Twitter, and
I'm glad he called.
Very interesting. Yeah, I actually have invited him on the show before, so I'm glad he could make it. All right, guys, we have gone a lot longer. I just got to say a few benchmarks before we sign off. We've been going for 3 hours, which is nuts. And we've averaged 78 people viewing the entire time. So just so you guys know, that's extremely rare. Most of these shows, people get on and they stay for, what is it, Moen, 20, 25 minutes at the most? Something like that.
Usually.
And
Around there.
our shows don't do that, and it's a tip of the hat to you guys, the fans, the viewers, the people who have supported us, supported Moen and Immaculate. And I want to really call you guys out and let you guys know we all very much care and love you guys' interaction. And there's just too many messages to get. I would recommend becoming a member, going to the Big 12 Mafia page, hit join. There's 3 tiers. Pick the one that fits your budget and what you think you want in features. And that way your comments are more highlighted to me. And then the second thing I wanted to say is Larry Pilgrim is back out of his long hiatus, and he jumped into the comment section here at the end. I know some people have struggled with Larry, but I am not one of them. Larry is one of our contributors, and I really appreciate him being here. And I wish he could have gotten on tonight, but I'm sure he's probably fishing off his deck or something. So, anyway, so we're very, very appreciative of everybody being here. The Holy Rivals show is morphing, it's changing, but it's sure going to be cool because it's the Holy War, and it's just going to get better. Moen and Imaki, you guys want to say anything else?
Yeah, just to go up on what you were saying, I do try to follow chat as much as possible while we're going, especially with having extra guys up here allows one to kind of focus in on that. But sometimes it gets so busy with so many coming in that I can't quite get to them all. So understand, I'm not trying to ignore anyone and pay attention to others over them, but just realize that sometimes it's hard to answer them all. And so, like as Bomber's saying, if you put them into a super chat, even for just a small amount, it will ensure that we do. If you have a certain question that you really want in, if it's just a question, just put it in normal. I do everything I can to try to get to that, and so does Bomber and so does Moen. But if it's something that you absolutely want called in, just maybe think about that super chat. But appreciate you guys sticking with us this whole time. This has been a long one. I've been watching the numbers and going, they're still here, so let's just keep going.
I know. That's exactly right. That Moen, anything else?
Launching a new YouTube channel, Moen Sports. That
Let's
way I'll be my third YouTube brand.
Jeez,
I think I'm going to go on there and rant about Notre Dame. And that'll be the whole show. Just every day, me shitting on Notre Dame. But I'm just going to try and branch out from, because if anybody's actually visited my Moen Vision YouTube channel, it has nothing to do with college athletics. It's just a passion project of mine. So I'm going to branch out into Moen Sports, try and do something there as well. Have my third brand channel here on YouTube. So I want to thank everybody for sticking with us. It's been a long time, but everybody's been in here and everybody's been submitting great questions, and love to see it.
Absolutely. Very active community. We value you all. Thank you for being here. I'm going to leave on a comment here from Mike Rayner. He says, hey, you guys, great show. I enjoyed it, and that's all we care about. So I'm going to sign off for everybody else. Everybody have a good weekend and stay out of trouble. See you on Monday, 8:30 Eastern. We're going to be doing an NIL complete discussion. BYU Coug Connect, Crimson Collective for Utah. And I think that's it. So we'll say goodbye, everybody. Peace out.
Have a great night, everyone.